Chapter 156. Genius 1 Second Remember, providing you with wonderful novels to read. Su Huarong fell at Lin Tian's feet, blood dripping from his mouth and nose. He looked like he was barely breathing. Literature building. Lin Tian looked down with a disgusted expression. He raised his leg and kicked. With a bang, Su Huarong was kicked in the abdomen and flew out like a scarecrow. "Sir!" The charming woman who was with Su Huarong screamed and ran in the direction where Su Huarong was flying. Lin Tian didn't even bother to look at her. He turned around and walked toward Jiyu. "All right," he smiled. Jiyu blinked and stared at Lin Tian in surprise. "You sent Su Huarong flying so easily. He's a rank 3 array manipulator. Even I have to put in some effort to fight him. You're quite proud of yourself." Lin Tian teased. Jiyu blushed. "No, I'm just a little surprised." Lin Tian smiled and said, "He's a rank 3 array manipulator. However, my level is higher than his." "Higher than rank 3? Jiyu was surprised. Although he knew that Lin Tian was an array manipulator, Jiyu didn't know Lin Tian's specific level. Hearing Lin Tian's words, Jiyu was shocked. He was only 16 years old, but he had such a terrifying level of array manipulation. "He's really outstanding." Jiyu muttered. "What did you say?" Lin Tian tilted his head. Jiyu quickly shook his head and smiled. "Nothing. Send me back. It's getting late." "Okay." Lin Tian smiled. The general's mansion was still a little far from here. He and Jiyu didn't care about other people's reactions and walked in a direction. It wasn't until the two of them were far away that the crowd burst into exclamations. "My God, that young man actually made Lord Su Huarong. 16 years old? Is he really an array manipulator? He's even more powerful than Lord Su Huarong. I've never heard of such a person in the Imperial City." "That's right, it's too strange. Where did this monster come from?" Many people felt their hearts palpitate. Literature building. In the distance, Su Huarong was helped up by the charming woman. At this moment, his consciousness had become slightly clearer. "Bastard!" Staring at the direction Lin Tian left, Su Huarong's eyes were filled with a sinister light. About 2 hours later, Lin Tian escorted Jiyu to the general's mansion. "I won't send you in," Lin Tian said. Jiyu looked at the cloud starflower in his arms, and then looked up at Lin Tian. He blinked and said, "Well, thank you for the gift. I will cherish it." "It's nothing. You're welcome." Lin Tian scratched his head. This thing only cost a few spirit coins, so it was not a big deal. Jiyu nodded and waved at Lin Tian. Then, he walked towards the inner courtyard of the general's mansion. Lin Tian smiled and turned to walk back. "Future son-in-law, take care. Also, come and visit Miss often." In front of the general's mansion, the two powerhouses guarding the gate joked. Lin Tian touched his nose and felt a little embarrassed. However, he did not refute them and turned to walk towards the imperial courtyard. Not long after, he walked very far away. At this moment, it was almost dusk. There were fewer people on the streets of the imperial city. Of course, although there were fewer people than at noon, there were still people coming and going. Most of the shops on both sides of the street were still open. Some restaurants were even open. This was because this was the largest city in the Northern Flame country. Lin Tian returned to the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard on the same path he came from. After walking for a short while, Lin Tian suddenly stopped. There were people coming and going on both sides of the street. However, at this moment, he clearly felt that something was wrong. There was a chill in the air, as if there were pairs of cold eyes staring at him. Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air was heard. A sharp arrow was flying towards him. Lin Tian took a step to the left. He reached out his right hand and caught the arrow. Then his eyes turned cold. He flipped his right hand and threw the arrow in the direction where it came from. "Ah!" A scream came from a restaurant. Instantly, the expressions of the passers-by changed. At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air became louder. Lin Tian looked up and saw arrows flying out from several restaurants around him. He was almost completely trapped in the middle. Lin Tian's eyes turned cold. He moved quickly and changed his position in the dense rain of arrows. He avoided the cold arrows one by one. Suddenly, Lin Tian frowned. There was a drunkard not far away. 3 arrows were flying towards the drunkard. Swoosh! He used the yin-yang puppet and appeared in front of the drunkard. He raised his hand and blocked the 3 arrows. At this moment, almost all the arrows had disappeared. Many shops on both sides of the street were full of holes. Fortunately, there were no casualties. Good spiritual sense. A cold voice sounded. On both sides of the street, people in black walked out from several restaurants. The person in the lead was dressed in blue. It was Lung Feng. Beside Lung Feng was a middle-aged man. It was Su Huarong, who was beaten up by Lin Tian more than 2 hours ago. Su Huarong returned to the Lung family to mobilize the experts. He did not want Lung Feng to find out. When Lung Feng found out who injured Su Huarong, he personally led the experts from his family over. He wanted to take revenge on Lin Tian and kill Lin Tian. I didn't expect you to be the one who killed young Master Lung. You're really audacious. Su Huarong stared coldly at Lin Tian. At this moment, Su Huarong's injuries were much better. As a Stage 3 array manipulator, he had many elixirs. Lin Tian did not even look at Su Huarong. His gaze fell on Lung Feng. This is the second time. Lin Tian's eyes were cruel as he said, "In the past, there was also a martial arts family that hunted me down. Later on, I completely annihilated that martial arts family. Your Lung clan will not have a good ending either." Lung Feng's face darkened when he heard this. "Don't compare the Lung family with some random cats and dogs," Lung Feng said coldly. Even so, Lung Feng was still somewhat fearful. Lin Tian had single-handedly destroyed a martial arts family. No matter how small the family was, it was enough to show how terrifying Lin Tian was. Moreover, Lin Tian was able to defeat Su Huarong. His array manipulation skills were even better than Su Huarong's. This made Lung Feng want to kill Lin Tian even more. Such a person must not be allowed to live. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble. "Kill!" Lung Feng said coldly. All of a sudden, the black-clothed men charged towards Lin Tian. "Dodge! They're from the Lung family. Run! Why do you care about the stall?" The passers-by on both sides of the street changed their expressions. Behind Lin Tian, the drunkard grabbed the corner of Lin Tian's clothes and struggled to stand up. He reeked of alcohol. Do you have any more wine?" He was a middle-aged man who looked as sloppy as a beggar. His hair was unkempt. "No," Lin Tian said indifferently. At this moment, another man in black rushed toward him and slashed at him with his saber. This was a divine pulse expert. His cultivation was at the 3rd level of the divine pulse realm. He was very powerful. However, in front of Lin Tian, who was at the 4th level of the divine pulse realm, this man in black was too weak. He was kicked away by Lin Tian and coughed up blood in the air. "Kill! Kill! Kill!" The men in black shouted and rushed toward Lin Tian. "Stay away," Lin Tiandao said. With a shake of his left hand, he pushed the drunkard into a nearby shop. The Lung family was here to kill him. He didn't want to implicate others because of him. The Lung family is really bold to come to the capital of the imperial city and under the feet of the emperor. Lin Tian Lung smiled. With a shake of his right hand, the broken wound sword was drawn. The ear-piercing sound of the sword echoed in all directions. Clang! The sound of the sword clanged. Suddenly, there was a flash of blood. The men in black at the front were penetrated and screamed in pain. Su Huarong was slightly surprised. He didn't expect Lin Tian to be so powerful. Clang! 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 Lin Tian faced the Lung family experts alone. The broken wound sword clashed with the other weapons, creating a series of ear-piercing metallic sounds. There were even sparks intertwining. "Ah!" Someone screamed. Lin Tian chopped off an arm. Blood splattered. Another man was hit. His throat was slit by the sword. "Shocking wind sword," Lin Tian murmured. He raised the broken wound sword in his hand slightly. Instantly, the sky was filled with sword chi. Blood splattered. 5 men were penetrated by the shocking wind sword chi and fell into a pool of blood. Such a scene shocked many of the men in black. Further away, some of the onlookers were shocked. "Who is this? He's so powerful." Someone was shocked. Not only these people, but even the surrounding black-clothed men also revealed looks of dread. For a moment, no one dared to step forward. The long sword in Lin Tian's hand was stained with traces of blood. He did not care about the men in black surrounding him at all. Instead, he looked at Lung Feng indifferently. Do you think that you can take my life with these pieces of trash? Or is it that the Lung family has too many divine pulse experts? So, you purposely sent them to their deaths to reduce the family's expenses? Lin Tian's words were calm, but there was a strong sense of sarcasm in them. Lung Feng's eyes were cold. I just want to see if you're qualified for me to take action. As he spoke, Lung Feng started to step forward and closed in on Lin Tian. Qualified? Lin Tianling sneered and said disdainfully, You think you can talk about qualifications with me? You're almost 20, and you're only at the 7th level of the Divine Pulse realm. Do you think you're so great? If I only had this level of cultivation when I reached your age, I would have directly committed suicide. I wouldn't have stood in front of others with an arrogant appearance. Lung Feng stopped in his tracks. His eyes were even more vicious. Without saying anything else, Lung Feng made his move. He slashed his sword at Lin Tian. Lin Tian coldly snorted. This time, he did not act like he did in Demon Beast Ridge. This time, he did not retreat at all. Instead, he faced Lung Feng head-on and slashed down with his sword, creating a lightning sword aura. Rumble! The sound of thunder was ear-piercing. Under the pressure of the sword, which was about 10 feet long, Lung Feng's sword gleam was shattered. Lung Feng's expression changed slightly. He slashed his sword again. With a crisp sound, Lin Tian's Azure Thunder Sword gleam was shattered by Lung Feng's second slash. You're just a so. Lung Feng said, You're the same. You're 3 levels higher than me, but you're nothing special. Lin Tiantan said coldly. As he spoke, his sword vibrated. The entire injury-breaking sword was covered in lightning arcs, crackling loudly. With a clang, an even stronger Azure Thunder Sword gleam appeared and charged straight at Lung Feng. Chapter 157. Lin Tian had already mastered 60% of the Sky Thunder Sword art. Right now, the Sky Thunder Sword art that he casually executed was comparable to a peak stage divine Vayne realm martial skill. When he slashed out with his sword, the thunder and lightning couldn't help but crackle. It was extremely ear-piercing. Child's play, Lung Feng said. With a clang, the Zen sword in Lung Feng's hand emitted a dazzling light as he slashed out. The 2 swords collided with a loud rumble. It was shocking. Boom! Gusts of wind swept out, surprising the Lung family experts who were surrounding them. Clang! 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 The shattering sword and Zen sword collided continuously, giving off ear-piercing metallic sounds. How is this possible? He can actually contend with the future heir of the Lung family for a short period of time. Su Huarong was shocked. Lung Feng was at the 7th level of the Divine Pulse realm and ranked 7th on the Imperial City's reputation list. Su Huarong found it hard to believe that Lin Tian could resist Lung Feng for such a long time with his 4th-level Divine Pulse realm cultivation. How monstrous was he? Moreover, Su Huarong suddenly thought of something else. This person in front of him was even better at controlling formations than he was. He did not expect such a terrifying person to come to the Imperial City. He's only 16 years old. This, Su Huarong's heart skipped a beat. Clang! Another crisp sound rang out as Lin Tian's injury-breaking sword clashed with Lung Feng's Zen sword once more. Streaks of sword light exploded and shot out in all directions, riddling many shops with holes. It was a complete mess. All around, the Lung clan's black-clothed experts were dumbfounded. However, someone soon came to his senses. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and help young master, someone shouted. Immediately, this person ran toward Lin Tian. Lin Tian was fighting with Lung Feng, but he was paying attention to the movements of the men in black around them. At this moment, when he saw someone rushing toward him, he swung his sword without mercy. A dazzling thunder sword force rushed toward the person. With a puff, blood splattered. The person who rushed toward him was pierced through the chest and died on the spot. Don't come over. Guard the surroundings. Don't let him leave, Lung Feng said solemnly. The group of black-robed men nodded and quickly formed a large circle, completely blocking all the paths in all directions. Lin Tian glanced at it, his face expressionless. "If I want to leave, do you think these pieces of trash can stop me?" He sneered. His words were very direct, and the disdain in them was very obvious. It immediately caused the faces of the group of black-clothed people to turn livid. Lung Feng snorted coldly. Without saying a word, he directly pressed down on Lin Tian. Lin Tian's expression didn't change. With a twist and turn of his sword, he also pressed forward. Clang! The two swords collided once again, and dazzling sparks flew everywhere. Gradually, Lin Tian began to lose ground as they clashed again and again. He was forced back by Lung Feng. With another sword strike, the two clashed and Lin Tian was forced to retreat 3 steps. "Again," Lin Tianling said. He pushed the Azure Thunder Sword technique to its limits, and an even more ear-piercing sound of thunder rang out. Streaks of lightning continuously descended. "I'll kill you," Lung Feng said coldly. The two clashed again, sword against sword, fist against fist. Pfft. Lin Tian's right shoulder was hit, and blood immediately splashed out. However, at the same time, his right fist landed on Lung Feng's chest, and with a bang, Lung Feng was forced back. The heir of the Lung family, ranked 7th on the wind cloud list, is just SOSO. Lin Tianling laughed. Lung Feng's face was cold, and his eyes were full of murderous intent. He didn't expect Lin Tian's combat strength to be so strong in just over a month. More than a month ago, Lin Tian could only run away when facing him, and couldn't even block a single attack. But now, he could already contend with him and hurt him. "I'll kill you today," Lung Feng said coldly. As he said that, he directly rushed over. In just over a month's time, Lin Tian had grown so much stronger. If Lin Tian was allowed to continue growing, Lung Feng felt that it would be an extremely dangerous matter. "Penetrating rainbow!" Lung Feng shouted. He stepped on the soul-chasing puppet, and at the same time, he used the family's heirloom, penetrating rainbow swordsmanship. At this moment, Lung Feng's aura suddenly soared, and his strength reached a peak. Lin Tian's face turned serious. He didn't dare to be careless, and immediately used the yin-yang avatar. At the same time, he activated the Azure Thunder swordsmanship to the limit. The entire broken sword was completely covered by the light of thunder, as if it had turned into a sword of the thunder god. "Kill!" With a low shout, Lin Tianyi strode over. The two powerful sword forces collided, and immediately set off a more violent hurricane. Clang! 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 The sound of swords colliding with each other was extremely ear-piercing. The experts of the Lung clan were stunned. They didn't expect that a 16-year-old unknown youth, who had no reputation in the imperial city, would be able to contend with the future successor of the Lung clan for so long with his cultivation at the 4th heavenly layer of the divine veins. No, this person must be killed. Su Huarong's eyes were sinister. While Lin Tian and Lung Feng were fighting, Su Huarong secretly took out a martial fusion inscription scroll. In an instant, an aura that was not inferior to Lung Feng's spread out. 3 terrifying sword forces quickly formed and shot toward Lin Tian. These were the Lung family's penetrating rainbow sword force. It was infused into Su Huarong by the current head of the Lung family. "Young Master Lung, back off!" Su Huarong shouted. These 3 sword forces were comparable to a peak divine range expert's attack. Lung Feng was shocked, and he quickly retreated. "Die!" Su Huarong shouted coldly. After seeing Lung Feng back off, he activated the 3 sword forces and quickly slashed toward Lin Tian. The moment the 3 sword forces appeared, the air screamed involuntarily. Lin Tian's expression changed slightly. After glancing at Su Huarong coldly, he flashed and instantly appeared beside Lung Feng. "You!" Lung Feng's face darkened. He did not expect Lin Tian to appear beside him at this moment. It was obvious that Lin Tian wanted to drag him down together. The 3 sword forces were also closing in on him, and they were no longer under Su Huarong's control. This is the Lung family's sword technique. Either you try to break it, or you bear it together with me. Lin Tian Lung said coldly. These three sword forces were definitely infused into the martial fusion inscription by a peak divine range expert. Although they would not kill him directly, he would definitely suffer heavy injuries if he took them head-on. It was naturally a good thing to drag someone along with him. Moreover, Lung Feng was the future heir of the Lung family. He was very familiar with the family sword technique, and he would definitely be able to minimize the risk. Damn it! Su Huarong could not help but curse when he saw Lin Tian's actions. He did not expect Lin Tian to make such a judgment. He also did not expect Lin Tian to be so fast that he caught up with Lung Feng in an instant. Lung Feng's expression was extremely gloomy, and his eyes flashed coldly. Lin Tian was expressionless. The broken wound sword in his hand vibrated and swept out several sword forces. At this moment, the three terrifying sword forces closed in on Lung Feng. Lung Feng's eyes were cold as he slashed out with his Zen sword. He charged towards Lin Tian instead of trying to break through the three sword forces. "I'll kill you today," Lung Feng said in a deep voice. Finally, the three sword forces pressed down and drowned the two of them. Bam! Bam! A bloody mist lingered in the air as the two figures retreated. Lin Tian was covered in blood. His clothes were torn, and his sword-wielding arm was trembling. On the other side, Lung Feng was not in a better state. His chest was a bloody mess. It was obvious that he was severely injured by the three sword forces. "It's about time," Lin Tian muttered to himself. Although he had dragged Lung Feng along to bear the brunt of the three terrifying sword forces, he was still severely injured. At this point, his combat strength was still inferior to Lung Feng's. He was no match for Lung Feng in a head-on clash. He had already reached his limit to be able to fight Lung Feng until now. Moreover, the broken wound sword would not be able to withstand another clash. After all, Lung Feng was wielding a low-grade, bejeweled weapon, which was much more powerful than the broken wound sword. Clang! The long sword in his hand vibrated, and a thunderous sword ray appeared. It was extremely domineering as it pressed down on Lung Feng. "That's all for today. Goodbye," Lin Tian Lung said. "Trying to leave? Stop him," Su Huarong shouted. Su Huarong was a visiting elder of the Lung family. His status was extraordinary. When he shouted, the black-clad experts in the surroundings immediately moved and charged toward Lin Tian. Lin Tian was expressionless. He glanced at Su Huarong coldly. "Be prepared to die the next time we meet." "Next time? What a joke. There won't be a next time," Su Huarong said coldly. More black-clad experts charged at Lin Tian as he spoke. Lin Tian did not seem to care at all. He stomped on the ground and leaped into the air. "Leaping into the air? Kill him, you idiot!" Su Huarong shouted. The group of black-clad experts raised their weapons as they received the order, waiting for Lin Tian to land on the ground. However, Lin Tian did not land on the ground at the very next moment. Instead, he stomped hard in the air and leaped into the air again. Lin Tian then stepped on the air again and again, moving directly in the air. "What the hell? He's actually walking in the air? How is this possible?" The expressions of the crowd in the distance changed. That middle-aged drunkard, who was in a shop nearby, looked at the sky with his mouth wide open and mumbled, "He can fly." At that moment, Lin Tian landed on the roof of a restaurant in the distance. Su Huarong stared at Lin Tian, and his expression changed again. "Walking in the air? How is this possible? That seems to be something that only airborne realm cultivators can do." Lin Tian stood on the roof of the restaurant. Despite being covered in blood, his eyes were extremely cold. He looked down at everyone from the Lung family on the street below like a god of swords. Staring at Lung Feng and Su Huarong, he smirked coldly and leaped toward the other side of the restaurant, disappearing from everyone's sight in an instant. Damn it! Lung Feng clenched his Zen sword tightly. His eyes were extremely gloomy. The second time, Lin Tian escaped again. About an hour later, Lin Tian returned to the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. The blood all over his body made the faces of many students of the Imperial Courtyard pale. "What the hell? What happened? Why is that ruthless guy injured so badly? Many people were shocked. Xi and Qingyan had been watching the competition of the students of the Imperial Courtyard at the Phantom Kill Hall. He was about to leave the Phantom Kill Hall and was just about to go home when he happened to see what happened. His expression changed drastically as he quickly went up to Lin Tian and asked, "Brother-in-law, what happened to you?" Chapter 158. Lin Tian heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Xi and Qingyan coming over. "Blue color book star. Let me lean on you for a while," he said weakly. To be honest, he had fought Lung Feng, who was at the 7th level of the divine range, with his cultivation at the 4th level of the divine range. Moreover, he had withstood 3 energy swords from Lung Feng, who was at the peak of the divine range. He felt dizzy. Xi and Qingyan was shocked. He quickly supported Lin Tian and asked, "What's wrong, brother-in-law?" "I'm fine. Take me back to my residence." Lin Tian shook his head. Xi and Qingyan nodded. He supported Lin Tian and quickly returned to the residence in the outer court. After returning to his residence, Lin Tian immediately crouched down and circulated the meridian of 4 extremities to heal his injuries. Xi and Qingyan looked around cautiously with a vigilant face. Lin Tian did not open his eyes until night fell. "Brother-in-law." Xi and Qingyan walked over. "How do you feel?" "I'm almost done." Lin Tiandao. Lin Tian stood up. He washed up and changed into a new set of clothes. Only then did he look better. At this time, the sky had completely darkened. "Sorry to trouble you again." Lin Tian looked at Xi and Qingyan and said, "Of course not. You're my brother-in-law. It's my duty to protect you. It's the same as protecting my sister." Xi and Qingyan shook his head. Then he leaned closer to Lin Tian and whispered, "By the way, what's going on, brother-in-law? We met some people from the Lung family. Lung Feng led them here. Then, you know what happened." Lin Tiandao. Xi and Qingyan was shocked. Then he said angrily, "Lung Feng, that bastard. How dare he attack us in public?" Lin Tian smiled and didn't say anything. He would deal with the Lung family, Lung Feng, and Su Huarong one by one. "By the way, did you watch the whole day at the illusory killing hall?" He looked at Xi and Qingyan and asked, "Brother-in-law, you dumped me. I can't help it. It's good to watch the competition." Xi and Qingyan rolled his eyes. Lin Tianyi smiled. "And then? After that, I felt that the difference between me and those fellows was too great. The divine vein realm, I yearned for it." Xi and Qingyan curled his lips. Lin Tian smiled and said, "Don't mind them, most of them are older than you." After pausing for a moment, he said, "Why don't you just stay at my place for the time being? I'll inscribe spirit-gathering runes for you. It can increase your cultivation speed by 2 folds. "Really? Really?" Xi and Qingyan was overjoyed. "That's great. Thank you, brother-in-law. Brother-in-law, you're the best." A rune like the spirit-gathering rune would cost at least a few thousand spirit coins in the market. Moreover, most of the time, one couldn't buy it even if one had the money. Right now, an array controller had specially inscribed spirit-gathering runes for him. This treatment was truly indescribable. Even the future successors of the 3 great clans didn't have such benefits. Lin Tian. The last sentence of brother-in-law, "You're the best," made his scalp tingle. There were still quite a number of materials in the stone ring. Lin Tian's injuries had basically healed. He immediately took out the materials and quickly inscribed dozens of spirit-gathering runes. He then casually tossed 10 of them to Xi and Qingyan. Right now, with his array controller skills that were close to the 4th level standard, it was naturally very easy for him to inscribe 2nd level spirit-gathering runes. Lin Tiandao, with your current realm, it's fine to use 1 rune each time. "Okay, brother-in-law," Xi and Qingyan said. Lin Tian nodded and said, "Don't think about going to the cultivation area to train for the next few days. To the current you, there isn't much use for you to go there. Right now, you should raise your cultivation level to the 9th level of the refinement realm first." "Okay," Xi and Qingyan said. It was already midnight. Immediately, Xi and Qingyan circulated his cultivation technique and activated a spirit-gathering rune to cultivate. Lin Tian watched Xi and Qingyan cultivate. After a while, he nodded. After a pause, he walked to the other side and activated 2 spirit-gathering runes. Instantly, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and the power of the stars gushed over continuously. Lung family, Lung Feng. Lin Tianling smiled. He didn't put Su Huarong in his eyes at all. To him, Su Huarong was merely a jumping clown. The so-called rank 3 array manipulation master didn't have the slightest bit of deterrence to him. After all, his array manipulation technique was even stronger than Su Huarong's. Right now, he only cared about the Lung family and Lung Feng. With a slightly cold expression, Lin Tian closed his eyes and used the condensed spiritual energy to construct the 5th divine meridian. The night passed very quickly. The next day, Lin Tian stood up and felt much better. The 5th divine meridian was almost half completed. For the 5th divine meridian, he chose the part from the head to the lungs. Now that the 5th divine meridian was half completed, he felt that his breathing was much smoother. Walking out of his residence, Lin Tian faced the morning sun and breathed. After about half an hour, he stopped. Glancing around his residence, Lin Tian saw that Xine Xingyun was still cultivating. He could not help but nod slightly. He was very satisfied with Xine Xingyun's diligence. It seemed that this guy would have great achievements in the future. On this day, Lin Tian went to the Disciples' Pavilion to refresh his Imperial Courtyard nameplate. Then, he walked to the Imperial Courtyard's cultivation area. He had already been to the Wild Sand World and the Rapid Torrent. Now he planned to go to the Pulse Condensation Cave to take a look. The Pulse Condensation Cave was a place that only the disciples of the Inner Yard and the King's Yard were qualified to enter. It was said that there were several spirit meridians gathered under it. The spiritual energy there was shocking. Cultivating in it could greatly increase the speed of one's divine meridian construction. Lin Tian defeated Mu Zixiang and became an Inner Yard disciple. Now, he could cultivate in the Pulse Condensation Cave for 5 days every month. After about an hour, Lin Tian arrived at the entrance of the Pulse Condensation Cave. "I want to go in and cultivate." Lin Tian handed over his Imperial Courtyard nameplate to the deacon guarding the entrance of the Pulse Condensation Cave. The Pulse Condensation Cave was different from the Wild Sand World and the Rapid Torrent. There were special Imperial Courtyard powerhouses guarding the Pulse Condensation Cave. If an Inner Yard disciple or King's Yard disciple wanted to enter to cultivate, they had to first greet the deacon. The deacon glanced at Lin Tian's nameplate and nodded. "Go in, there is a spot available." Lin Tian took back his nameplate and stepped into the Pulse Condensation Cave. As soon as Lin Tian stepped into the Pulse Condensation Cave, he immediately felt the difference between this place and the outside world. The spiritual energy inside was too dense, about 5 to 6 times stronger than the outside world. Suppressing his surprise, Lin Tian looked around and found that the Pulse Condensation Cave was not big. It was about 100 square meters and there were 10 small caves inside. The Pulse Condensation Cave can accommodate up to 10 people at the same time. So that's how it is. Lin Tian muttered to himself. Without paying too much attention, Lin Tian quickly arrived at the spacious small cave. This small cave was about 10 square meters and had a wooden door. After Lin Tian entered the small cave, he closed the wooden door. After taking a deep breath, he sat down cross-legged. The 4 extreme scripture started to circulate. Instantly, waves of spiritual energy surged from the ground. What powerful spiritual energy! Lin Tian was surprised. The intensity of spiritual energy in the Pulse Condensation Cave was even more shocking than when he used the 2 spirit-gathering runes in the outside world. After a pause, Lin Tian took out the 2 spirit-gathering runes from the stone ring and started to inscribe them beside him. In an instant, even more shocking spiritual energy swept over. The density of spiritual energy had increased by more than 2 times compared to before, causing Lin Tian's eyes to light up. "I can actually use the spirit-gathering runes in here. This is great!" Lin Tian was secretly delighted. The spiritual energy in the Pulse Condensation Cave was already very shocking. After using the spirit-gathering runes to amplify it, it had increased by 2 times. This way, the speed of his divine meridian's construction would increase even more. How could he not be surprised? Immediately, Lin Tian took a deep breath and quickly circulated the four extreme scripture to construct the fifth divine meridian. At this moment, the spiritual energy gathered around him was extremely dense. It was much easier for him to construct the divine meridian compared to usual. Moreover, the pain he felt was greatly reduced. Regarding this, Lin Tian naturally wouldn't waste a single second. As he circulated the four extreme scripture, he quickly connected the meridians on the fifth divine meridian with his Tao acupoint. Buzz! A faint glow lingered around him, bringing with it a hint of blood-red color. It was slowly becoming stronger. For the next few days, Lin Tian immersed himself in cultivation. As the spiritual energy in the pulse condensation cave was too dense, after he activated the spirit-gathering runes, the construction of the divine meridian became much easier and faster. Of course, while cultivating in the pulse condensation cave, he also started to truly cultivate the nirvana fist art. This explosive martial skill suited his taste very well. Unknowingly, a month passed by quickly. On this day, a tyrannical wave spread out in the pulse condensation cave and didn't dissipate for a long time. Huff! In a small cave, Lin Tian let out a long breath. His eyes were shining brightly. That tyrannical wave naturally spread out from his body. After a month of cultivation, he finally broke through to the fifth firmament of the divine meridian after spending 4 days and 11 hours cultivating in the pulse condensation cave. Standing up, Lin Tian clenched his fists and took another deep breath. Immediately, Lin Tian felt the true essence in his body become denser. His breathing also became more distant and long. Very good. Clenching his fists, Lin Tian was pleasantly surprised. He felt that his combat strength and physique had improved by a lot. After this, he used up the last 2 hours of cultivation time in the pulse condensation cave. With the support of such a high level of spiritual energy, he consolidated his cultivation at the fifth firmament of the divine meridian. Only then did he walk out of the pulse condensation cave and return to his residence. When he returned to his residence, Enchantment had just finished cultivating. Brother-in-law, it's too boring to cultivate nonstop for a month. Why don't we go to the Beast Devil Ridge to train? There's a lot of good stuff in there. Enchantment said. 3 days ago, with the help of the spirit-gathering rune, Enchantment stepped into the 9th firmament of the body refinement realm. He wanted to go to the Beast Devil Ridge to give it a try. Lin Tian thought about it and said, all right. To be honest, after cultivating in the Imperial Courtyard for an entire month, he also felt that it was a bit boring. On this night, Lin Tian woke Enchantment up. He then left the Imperial Courtyard and headed to the Beast Devil Ridge. The reason why they went at night was because Lin Tian didn't want to be found out by the Lung family and cause trouble for him. He wasn't afraid of them, but with Enchantment, he had to be more careful. Not long after, the two arrived at the Beast Devil Ridge. The Beast Devil Ridge covered a large area. It was even larger than the Dark Forest in Fengjian City. It was the most popular place for many martial artists to train. Moreover, there were many treasures in the Beast Devil Ridge. There was once an expert who found a kind of spiritual plant. Later, that spiritual plant was auctioned at the treasure loft for a high price of millions of spirit coins. There are real demonic beasts inside. They are different from the demonic beasts created by the illusionary killing array. After we go in, follow me closely. Lin Tian said to Enchantment. Yes, brother-in-law. Enchantment nodded repeatedly. He stared at the Beast Devil Ridge with an excited expression. Chapter 159. Remember the literature building in a second, providing you with wonderful novels to read. The demonic beast ridge was already a little dim, and now that it was nighttime, only a little starlight shone through the gaps in the forest, making the demonic beast ridge seem even darker. Lin Tian and Enchantment entered, and suddenly, a burst of beast roars entered their ears, and the demonic aura in the air was shockingly dense. The periphery is filled with level 1 and level 2 demonic beasts. Let's go deeper. Lin Tian Dao. Understood. Enchantment nodded. The demonic beasts in the periphery of the demonic beast ridge were very weak, and even Exa and Qingyun could easily defeat them, so it was meaningless for them to move around. Immediately, Lin Tian led Exa and Qingyun into the depths of the demonic beast ridge, and soon they were about 1,000 feet deep. Roar! Following a loud roar, a demonic beast rushed from the side. It was a level 3 peak demonic beast, with red hair all over its body and a ferocious look in its eyes. I'll leave it to you, Lin Tian said to Exa and Qingyun. A level 3 peak demonic beast was comparable to a human at the 9th sky of body refinement, so it was best for Exa and Qingyun to practice on. Okay, brother-in-law, Exa and Qingyun said, and immediately went forward. Suddenly, sword light flashed, and after a quarter of an hour, Exa and Qingyun killed the demonic beast on the spot. Lin Tian went forward and took out the beast core of the demonic beast, and casually threw it to Exa and Qingyun, saying, "There are too many moves in a battle, flashy but useless, and a waste of true essence. Remember, during a battle, the most important thing is to defeat the opponent. If you can kill the opponent in one blow, don't use a second move. Too many moves will only consume your essence, chi, and spirit. Other than that, they are useless." Exa and Qingyun nodded and said seriously, "I'll remember, brother-in-law." "Good, continue." Lin Tiandao. This place was about 1,000 feet away from the edge of the demonic beast ridge, and almost all of them were level 3 demonic beasts. Lin Tian took Exa and Qingyun together, searching for demonic beasts to fight in this area, and a night quickly passed. In this night, Exa and Qingyun killed a total of 6 peak level 3 demonic beasts, and he was so tired that he was panting. "Brother-in-law, I'll take a rest." After saying that, Exa and Qingyun sat down on the ground. Lin Tian jumped down from the thick branches of an old tree and smiled faintly. Speaking of which, Exa and Qingyun's battle prowess was not bad compared to other warriors of the same level. He was very strong. Glancing at Exa and Qingyun, Lin Tian took a deep breath and began to circulate the true essence in his body into his right fist, cultivating the Nirvana fist art. After his cultivation had reached the 5th heavenly layer of the divine vein, Lin Tian felt that his body was almost comparable to a 9th heavenly layer divine vein expert. He was much stronger than before. At this time, he could truly begin to cultivate the Nirvana fist art. He didn't need to worry that his body couldn't withstand the violent Jin Yuan after it was compressed. As the true essence in his body gradually gathered at the tip of his fist faintly glowed. A terrifying aura spread out, making a buzzing sound. "Brother-in-law, you are..." Exa and Qingyun was shocked. "Training in fist techniques," Lin Tian said. After saying that, Lin Tian shook his head in his heart. Compared to the battle with Mu Zixiang, although he had gathered more true essence at the tip of his fist, he couldn't completely suppress the violent power. Even Exa and Qingyun could feel it. In this way, the so-called explosive power lost its meaning because the enemy could feel it. "It seems that I need to spend more time training," Lin Tian muttered to himself. The sky was getting brighter and brighter. When Exa and Qingyun had completely adjusted his true essence, the scorching sun was already hanging high in the sky. "It's noon," Exa and Qingyun muttered. Lin Tian nodded. "Let's continue." After saying that, he withdrew his fist force and led Exa and Qingyun to the other side to continue to search for peak class 3 demonic beasts. After noon, the demonic beast ridge gradually became lively. Many warriors poured in one after another. Some of these people were purely here to gain experience, while others were here to search for treasures. After all, the demonic beast ridge was not only a paradise for demonic beasts, but it also had countless treasures of heaven and earth. After an hour, Exa and Qingyun had killed a few more class 3 demonic beasts. At this moment, a gust of wind blew. A demonic beast covered in black scales charged over from not far away. It had a pair of dark green eyes and emitted an oppressive aura of blood. It opened its bloody mouth and pounced towards Exa and Qingyun ferociously. "A class 5 demonic beast, black elephant. Retreat," Lin Tian said in a deep voice. After saying that, his figure flashed and appeared in front of Exa and Qingyun in an instant. He threw a punch forward. With a bang, the punch landed on Black Elephant's body. The black elephant was forced to retreat a few steps, but it didn't seem to be injured. The black elephant is comparable to an expert in the 5th level of the divine range. It has thick skin and thick flesh. The black scales covering the surface of its body are like a defensive armor. An ordinary expert in the peak of the divine range can hardly hurt it. How can such a Class 5 demonic beast appear in this place? Xian Qingyun was surprised. Some experts in the 9th level of the divine range would have a headache if they encountered the Class 5 demonic beast, Black Elephant. It wasn't that the demonic beast was a threat to the 9th level of the divine range, but the 9th level of the divine range would have a hard time killing it. Brother-in-law, should we retreat? Xian Qingyun asked. No need. Lin Tian shook his head. He asked Xian Qingyun to retreat to the side and took a step forward. When he punched the black elephant just now, he knew that the demonic beast's physique was very strong. After all, his current physique was comparable to an expert in the 9th level of the divine range. However, his punch only forced the black elephant to retreat a few steps. Such a physique was perfect for him to practice. He wanted to use the black elephant to practice the Nirvana fist art. Roar! With a roar, the black elephant stared at Lin Tian with its gloomy green eyes and charged at him violently. Lin Tian didn't dodge and directly faced the demonic beast. He unsheathed the long sword in his right hand and performed the shocking wind sword art. He slashed out streaks of sword radiance, which fell on the black elephant. Clang! 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 Lin Tian wasn't surprised by this. He used the shocking wind sword art to resist the black elephant while silently gathering the genuine vitality in his body into his left fist. After about 100 breaths, Lin Tian stepped back and punched out with his left fist. Boom! An intense beam of light shot out from his left fist. It was like a thick bolt of lightning, powerful and fast. This attack landed firmly on Black Elephant's body. It actually sent Black Elephant flying, and its black scales fell to the ground. Oh my God! Behind him, Xian Qingyun opened his eyes wide in shock. This was the second time Lin Tian had blasted out such a fist light beam, and it was also the second time Xian Qingyun had seen it. However, even so, Xian Qingyun was still very surprised, because using a fist to blast out a fist light beam to attack the enemy from a distance was indeed very shocking and impossible to guard against. Moreover, Xian Qingyun noticed that Lin Tian's attack this time was obviously much stronger than the previous one. It actually shattered some of the black scales on the black elephant's body. Lin Tian stared at the black elephant, clenched his fist, and charged again. Come on, he said indifferently. The black elephant was furious. Its gloomy green eyes turned blood red as it madly pounced on Lin Tian. A new round of great battles began once again. Xian Qingyun leaped onto an old tree. He observed his surroundings while watching Lin Tian's battle. Clang! 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 Lin Tian's sword slashed at the black elephant again and again, sputtering sparks. However, Lin Tian did not intend to kill the black elephant with his sword. He was only temporarily restraining the black elephant. After a few breaths, another fist light flew out. The black elephant screamed. This time, it was even more miserable than the previous one. More black scales fell, and blood flowed continuously. This made the black elephant even more ferocious. Its gloomy green eyes turned even redder as it madly charged at Lin Tian. Lin Tian's expression was calm as he dealt with it with ease. In the next 15 minutes, Lin Tian blasted out several fist lights of Nirvana, each stronger than the last. Gradually, the black elephant began to show fear. At this moment, most of the black scales on the black elephant's body had been blasted off by Lin Tian. Its body was covered in blood. Oh my God! Xian Qingyun swallowed his saliva. The black elephant, known for its defense, had been injured to such an extent by Lin Tian. In the center of the field, Lin Tian's expression was calm as he slashed his sword again and again. Finally, the fear in the black elephant's eyes grew stronger and stronger. With a loud roar, the black elephant jumped back and fled into the distance, stirring up waves of sand and dust. Lin Tian didn't pursue him, and two strands of dazzling bright light flashed in his eyes. He raised his left fist and punched at the fleeing black elephant follows elephant. Boom! An extremely dazzling light beam with a diameter of about an inch flew out. This fist light was fast and powerful. With a puff, the black elephant was directly penetrated by this fist light 30 meters away. With a bang, it fell into a pool of blood. Exan Qingyan stared into the distance with his eyes wide open. Staring at the black elephant's corpse in the pool of blood, Exan Qingyan swallowed his saliva hard again. Unexpectedly, Lin Tian had punched through the black elephant, destroying the black scales on the surface of the black elephant's body. How terrifying was this attack? It was too terrifying. Lin Tian clenched his left fist and showed some satisfaction. This fist technique can be considered as a small success. The Nirvana fist aura that he could unleash now was already very strong. However, when he compressed his true yuan, he was still unable to completely suppress that berserk aura. He still needed to temper himself through continuous battles before he could control it with ease. After that, he could unleash this explosive fist technique without any ripples. Walking forward, he took out the black elephant's beast core. The beast core of a 5th-grade demonic beast was very valuable. Brother-in-law, you're really abnormal. Exan Qingyan walked forward. Just SOSO. Lin Tian smiled. Exan Qingyan glanced around and said, Brother-in-law, let's go deeper. This place seems to be filled with 3rd-grade demonic beasts. The black elephant's escape should be an accident. Let's go deeper and see. Okay. Lin Tian nodded. Immediately, Lin Tian led Exan Qingyan into the depths of the demonic beast ridge. Soon, they were 2,000 feet deep. After arriving here, the demonic aura in the air was obviously denser, and the roars of the beasts were even more shocking. Follow me carefully, understand? Lin Tian said to Exan Qingyan. There were already many 4th-grade demonic beasts here. Exan Qingyan was only in the 9th grade of body refinement realm, so it was more or less dangerous. Yes, I understand, Exan Qingyan said. Lin Tian nodded and continued to lead Exan Qingyan forward. Chapter 160. Lin Tian followed the voice and saw a young man fighting with an amethyst wolf. The amethyst wolf was a level 5 middle demonic beast. Although it was slightly weaker than the black elephant, it was still extremely terrifying and difficult to deal with. The young man was already in a sorry state with many bloodstains on his body. It was obvious that he was at the end of his rope. Judging from his clothes, he should be a disciple of the Northern Flame Imperial Academy. Exan Qingyan said. Lin Tian naturally noticed that the young man was about 18 years old and his cultivation was at the 4th sky of the divine range. At this moment, the young man also noticed Lin Tian and Exan Qingyan. He immediately roared, Brothers, help me. Do you want to help? Exan Qingyan asked. Lin Tian thought for a moment and said, Let's help. After all, we are disciples of the same academy. As he spoke, Lin Tian walked out. The broken wound sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed at the amethyst wolf. With a clang, the sword was powerful and forceful, forcing the amethyst wolf to retreat. The amethyst wolf was in pain. It roared and changed its direction. Instead of attacking the young man, it pounced at Lin Tian. Clang! In Lin Tian's hand, the broken wound sword vibrated. Instantly, dozens of sword force attacked the amethyst wolf. Shocking wind sword! The amethyst wolf screamed as the sword radiance pierced through its body. It immediately tried to escape. You still want to escape? Humph! Exan Qingyan stood up, holding his sword with both hands, and slashed down. Although he was only at the 9th level of the body refinement realm, the amethyst wolf was severely injured and was forced to take a step back. However, it was only one step back. Immediately after, the amethyst wolf was enraged and pounced towards Exan Qingyan. Oh my God! Brother-in-law, help! Exan Qingyan shouted. Lin Tian was speechless. Why did this guy suddenly jump out? It was a level 5 demonic beast. Even if it was severely injured, it was not something that a martial artist at the ninth sky of the body refinement realm could withstand. Thinking of this, he had already arrived beside enchantment and slashed at him with the broken wound sword. Puff! This sword carried with it traces of lightning. It was both fast and powerful, and with a pu sound, it chopped off the amethyst wolf's head. Enchantment heaved a sigh of relief and patted his chest. Not far away, the young man was shocked. He was no match for a fifth-grade amethyst wolf, but he did not expect the man in front of him to kill the amethyst wolf in an instant. His strength shocked him. He walked up to Lin Tian and smiled. "Hello, brother, my name is Gretchen. I'm a student of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. My name is Lin Tian, and his name is Enchantment. We are also students of the Northern Flame Imperial Academy. Lin Tiandao, you're also students of the Imperial Courtyard. I don't think I've seen you guys before." Gretchen was a little surprised. Lin Tiandao. "It's like this, we're freshmen." Gretchen smiled. "So that's how it is. Speaking of which, after the Beast Devil Ridge assessment, I entered this place to train. I haven't returned to the Imperial Courtyard until now, so I'm not too sure. However, junior brother Lin Tian, you're really strong. You've only just entered the Imperial Courtyard, but your battle strength is already so strong. Of course, my brother-in-law is already an inner courtyard disciple." Enchantment said proudly. "What? Inner courtyard disciple? So fast?" Gretchen was shocked again. "I passed by luck." Lin Tiandao. Gretchen looked at Lin Tian in shock. "This isn't something that can be passed by luck. In the past, I spent a lot of effort to enter the inner courtyard, and my ranking was very low. You actually entered the inner courtyard so quickly." Lin Tian smiled, but did not say much about this matter. "The danger is gone. Let's part ways here." He was prepared to go deeper into the Beast Devil Ridge with enchantment to broaden his horizons. "Wait!" Gretchen stopped Lin Tian. "You two are here to train?" "Yes." Lin Tian nodded. Gretchen said, "I'm also here to train. Why don't we go together? We can take care of each other." Lin Tian pondered for a moment. There was no harm in having more people with them. Furthermore, since Gretchen had suggested it, he would appear too arrogant if he were to reject her. Thus, he nodded his head and said, "All right. Okay. Wait for me," Gretchen said. Gretchen took out her blade, took out the amethyst wolf's beast core, and walked forward. Thus, the three of them went deeper into the Beast Devil Ridge. As they went deeper into the Beast Devil Ridge, more and more demonic beasts appeared, and they were all very strong. At this time, Enchantment was almost unable to make a move and could only watch from the side with excitement. Gretchen also found it difficult to make a move because Lin Tian was too strong. The demonic beasts they encountered were all fourth-grade demonic beasts, and they were no match for Lin Tian. "Junior brother Lin Tian, you're really strong." Gretchen smiled. "Not bad." Lin Tian nodded. He had killed dozens of demonic beasts and obtained quite a number of beast cores. Because Gretchen was walking together with him, he gave some beast cores to her. Although these beast cores couldn't be refined by cultivators, they could be sold for a good price. Moreover, they could also be used to exchange for Imperial Courtyard points, which could be used to exchange for martial skills and medicinal pills. Soon, the three of them went deeper into the Beast Devil Ridge. At this time, a strange fragrance suddenly floated in the air, attracting Lin Tian's attention. "What's wrong, brother-in-law?" Enchantment asked. He had cultivated with Lin Tianyi for a long time, so he understood Lin Tian better. "There's a fragrance." Lin Tiandao. "Fragrance?" Enchantment and Gretchen sniffed. "I don't smell anything." Their senses were not as good as Lin Tian's, so they couldn't distinguish the subtle fragrance. Lin Tian glanced around. The Heavenly One Soul incantation gave him a strong sense of perception. Whether it was sight, hearing, or smell, they were all stronger than ordinary people. His nose twitched slightly, and he quickly moved in a direction. Enchantment was curious, so he followed carefully. Not long after, Lin Tian pushed aside the tangled branches and saw a medium-sized canyon in front of him. The canyon wasn't deep, and he could see the bottom at a glance. In the depths of the canyon, 3 stalks of green grass fluttered in the wind, looking very conspicuous. Blue spirit root, Xin Qingyun exclaimed. Lin Tian frowned. Blue spirit root. Xin Qingyun was surprised. Brother-in-law, you don't know? I don't know. Lin Tian shook his head. Xin Qingyun took a deep breath, but his eyes were full of excitement. He said excitedly, "It is said that the blue spiritual root is the amalgamation of the Earth's spiritual energy. It has an amazing miraculous effect on the formation of divine veins. Back then, someone found such a thing in the demonic beast ridge. Just 1 stalk was sold at the treasure loft for millions of spirit coins." When Xin Qingyun said this, Gretchen, who was beside him, also stared ahead, her eyes full of excitement. Lin Tian was shocked when he heard this. This thing was actually so valuable? "Quick, brother-in-law, go and pick it," Xin Qingyun said excitedly. He couldn't wait to rush out, but just as he was about to move, Lin Tian pulled him back. "Don't move," Lin Tian said in a low voice. Xin Qingyun didn't understand, and then he saw Lin Tian pointing at a place not far from the blue spirit root. He looked in that direction and couldn't help but gasp. There was a huge, sunken hole, and a black python was coiled in it. Its monster body was intertwined with blood-red patterns. Peak level 5 demonic beast, black demon python. Gretchen's face changed. The black demon python was not only a demonic beast comparable to the 6th sky of the divine veins, but also contained amazing toxins. Its strength was terrifying. Some powerful martial artists at the peak level 6 sky of the divine veins were not willing to face the black demon python because it was too dangerous. This guy, has it been guarding the 3 blue spirit roots? Xin Qingyun smiled bitterly. "It should be so," Gretchen said. Both of them had an unlucky expression on their faces because the black demon python was too terrifying. With such a demonic beast guarding the blue spirit root, even a 6th firmament divine vein expert would not dare to approach it rashly. It would be very easy for the black demon python to devour them. Now, they could only stare at the 3 blue spirit roots, feeling extremely depressed. At this time, Lin Tian stood up. "You guys wait here," he said. Xin Qingyun was anxious and immediately pulled Lin Tian. "Don't, brother-in-law. Although the blue spirit root is precious, your life is more important." Although Xin Qingyun had never seen the black demon python, he had heard of the horror of such a fierce beast. "It's okay." Lin Tian shook his head. He pushed aside the messy branches and walked out, which immediately attracted the black demon python's attention. The black demon python coiled its body, but its head was held high at this moment. A pair of blood-red demonic eyes stared at Lin Tian with a threatening evil spirit. Lin Tian squinted his eyes. It's worthy of being a peak level 5 demonic beast. Its spiritual sense is not bad. While talking to himself, Lin Tian did not pay much attention to it and walked forward step by step. Seeing Lin Tian coming, the black demon python's huge demonic body suddenly stood up. The snake flicked its forked tongue and stared at Lin Tian fiercely. Obviously, it was warning Lin Tian. Lin Tian did not care at all. Step by step, he approached the black demon python. The broken wound sword appeared in his hand, with traces of electric arcs twining around it. He looked very calm at this moment, but he was very cautious. After all, this was a terrifying demonic beast comparable to an expert at the peak level 6 sky of the divine veins. Its name was already well known, so he could not be careless. Roar! Seeing Lin Tian advancing instead of retreating, the black demon python suddenly roared angrily and rushed out from its original place. With a whoosh, its huge tail suddenly whipped toward Lin Tian. Lin Tian was not in a hurry. He waved the broken wound sword, and a sword essence flew out directly. However, when the sword essence fell on the black demon python's huge tail, it had no effect at all. This made Lin Tian a little surprised. "Not bad," Lin Tian muttered. This time, he changed the sword essence into a fist and smashed it fiercely. With a bang, his fist collided with the black demon python's tail. Suddenly, a strong force gushed out, shaking the black demon python and causing it to roar fiercely. Obviously, he was hurt by this punch. After all, Lin Tian's current physique was comparable to an expert at the ninth sky of the divine veins. The power of that punch was not small. With a roar, the black demon python opened its bloody mouth and spat out a mouthful of black poison toward Lin Tian. "Brother-in-law, be careful. Retreat quickly," Xin Qingyun shouted. The black demon python's poison was extremely terrifying. Even an expert at the seventh sky of the divine veins might not be able to resist it. Chapter 161. Xin Qingyun was startled. Lin Tian dashed toward the poisonous fog, which made his face pale. "Brother-in-law!" Xin Qingyun couldn't help but shout. At this moment, an ear-piercing sound of a sword rang out, along with the miserable shriek of the black demon python. The black poisonous fog quickly dispersed. In front of them, there was a deep wound on the black demon python's vital point. However, nothing happened to Lin Tian. Although the poisonous fog drifted into his nose, it had no effect at all. That poison didn't have any effect on brother-in-law. Xin Qingyun's eyes widened. The black demon python's poison was so strong that even an expert at the seventh sky of the divine range couldn't bear it. However, Lin Tian was fine after inhaling a lot of the black fog. Not only Xin Qingyun, but Gretchen was also shocked. Lin Tian held the broken wound sword and walked toward the black demon python step by step. "Your skin is quite hard. I can't even cut it." The black demon python stared at Lin Tian with its blood-red eyes. It seemed to be surprised that nothing happened to the human in front of it after he absorbed its deadly poisonous fog. Seeing Lin Tian coming toward it, the black demon python roared again. The bloodlines on its back lit up, and more poisonous fog was sprayed toward Lin Tian. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. He still didn't retreat, but rushed toward the black demon python. When he was in the corrosive poison forest, he was able to withstand the poison of the level 7 poisonous fire lizard. His body had already developed a resistance to poison. How could the poison of a level 5 demonic beast compare to the poison of a level 7 demonic beast? It couldn't do anything to him. Clang! The sound of the sword rang again. Lin Tian gently swung the sword. Suddenly, a thundersword essence fell toward the black demon python. The black demon python whipped its tail toward Lin Tian. For a moment, the wind seemed to be hissing in the air. Lin Tian switched the sword to his left hand. This time, he clenched his right fist and smashed it down. With a bang, his fist collided with the black demon python's tail. Although there was no visible wound on the snake's tail, the black demon python let out a miserable shriek. "Crushing fist, come again," Lin Tian whispered. The skin of the black demon python was very flexible and hard to cut. Therefore, he changed his tactic and used the meteorite-shattering fist. This was an inferior divine pulse fist technique. Through the fusion of true essence and physique to a certain frequency, a fist would be blasted out. In this way, after the fist was blasted out, the enemy's internal organs would be completely smashed into pieces. The black demon python was furious. It raised its head and dived toward Lin Tian. It was also at this moment that Lin Tian's eyes flashed. This time, he transferred the broken wound sword from his left hand to his right hand. Then he clenched his left hand into a fist and swung it at the black demon python's vital point. Boom! An intense beam of light flew out from the tip of his fist and pierced through the black demon python's 7 inches away from its body, bringing out a large amount of blood. Nirvana fist. Bang! The head of the black demon python fell down from the sky. It twitched a few times and then stopped moving. Xin Qingyun stared ahead with wide eyes. The black demon python, which is comparable to the peak of the 6th level of the divine vein realm, was killed so easily. Gretyu was also shocked. At the edge of the canyon, Lin Tian looked in the direction of the two and nodded, indicating that they could come out now. Xin Qingyun immediately pushed aside the messy branches and trotted out, with a face full of excitement. "Brother-in-law, you are so cool." "Just so." Lin Tian smiled. After taking out the beast core of the black demon python, Lin Tian came to the 3 blue spiritual roots in the depths of the canyon. At this moment, looking at the 3 blue spiritual roots at a close distance, Lin Tianji felt that the leaves of the clear spiritual root were green and transparent, and the fragrance in the air was stronger. So wonderful, just like the body fragrance of a young girl. Xian Qingyan was intoxicated. Lin Tian twitched the corner of his mouth and directly gave this guy a slap. Even the body fragrance of a young girl was brought out. Xian Qingyan scratched his head awkwardly. After laughing dryly, he said, "The main point of the blue spiritual root is the roots under the soil. Judging from the color of their leaves, these 3 blue spiritual roots should not be fully mature yet. Let me think. We will probably have to wait for more than 2 hours before we can harvest them." Lin Tian looked at Xian Qingyan with a little surprise. "I didn't expect you to know so much." Of course. Xian Qingyan had a proud expression. Lin Tian directly ignored Xian Qingyan's proud look. There was a big rock at the side. He walked over and sat down on the big rock. There were still more than 2 hours before the blue spiritual roots matured. He definitely had to keep guard here. 3 blue spiritual roots, 1 for each of us. We have made a fortune this time, Gretyu said excitedly. Xian Qingyan frowned, but did not say anything. He looked at Lin Tiandao and said, "Brother-in-law, you can take these blue spiritual roots and refine them. The people of that branch will definitely continue to find trouble with you. You should improve your cultivation first. After refining these 3 blue spiritual roots, you can at least reach the 6th sky of the divine range." Lin Tianwei was silent. Indeed, he really needed these things to improve his cultivation. Gretchen looked at Xian Qingyan and said, "What do you mean? You want him to refine all of them? I am about to reach the 5th sky of the divine range. I also need these things. You can give away your share, but at least give me my share." Xian Qingyan was a little unhappy. What did she mean by my share? The blue spiritual roots were discovered by Lin Tian. The black demon python was also killed by Lin Tianyi with his own strength. Gretchen did nothing. How could she have the nerve to say that he should get his share? Looking at Gretchen, Xian Qingyan said, "Senior Brother Guan, I just said that my brother-in-law is facing a great enemy. These 3 blue spiritual roots are very important to him. Can you stop fighting? Besides, you didn't do anything along the way, but brother-in-law still gave you a lot of beast cores. He has done his best. You didn't do anything either. You only reached the 9th sky of the body refining realm. He also gave you beast cores. What's the big deal? These blue spiritual roots were discovered together. Everyone has a share. We each get 1. Shouldn't we? What do you mean by discovered together? What do you mean everyone has a share? These things were found by my brother-in-law alone." Xian Qingyan was very unhappy. At this time, Lin Tian waved his hand and said, "Okay, stop fighting. Since we are in the same boat, we each get 1. Xian Qingyan was very unhappy, but since Lin Tian said so, he did not say anything more. Sure enough, junior brother Lin Tian is reasonable. Gretchen smiled and glanced at Xian Qingyan. Unlike some people who can sneak into the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard with a mere body refining realm cultivation, they must have used some dishonorable methods. Xian Qingyan was angry. How I got into the Imperial Courtyard is none of your business. Lin Tian also frowned and looked at Gretchen indifferently. Senior Brother Guan's words are a bit too much. I think you better apologize to my friend. Hearing Lin Tian's words, Gretchen's face suddenly turned ugly. Why should I? Because you said something you shouldn't have? Lin Tiandao. Xian Qingyan was Xian Yao's younger brother. These days, Xian Qingyan was very good to him. He was one of his 2 best friends in the Imperial City. Gretchen's words were obviously humiliating Xian Qingyan. He could not tolerate this kind of thing. What if I don't apologize? Gretchen's face darkened. I'll give you a blue spirit root. Similarly, that's another matter. You better apologize immediately. Lin Tianlong said indifferently. Gretchen's face turned extremely ugly and livid. I get it. One of you is playing the good cop, the other is playing the bad cop. Now you're acting like this because of a small matter. You're just purposely excluding me and don't want to give me a share of the blue spirit root. I don't want this blue spirit root. Gretchen's face was stiff and ugly. She stood up, flicked her sleeves, and walked away. Lin Tian frowned and then just shook his head. When the forest is big, there are all kinds of birds. Xi and Qingyan was in a bad mood. It was obvious that the blue spirit root was discovered by Lin Tian, who then dealt with the black demon python alone. Because the Lung clan had always looked down on Lin Tian, Xi and Qingyan felt that it was most appropriate for Lin Tian to refine 3 blue spirit roots first. However, Gretchen insisted on taking one of them. She even thought that she deserved it. Her thick skin really made him unhappy. Forget it. Everyone is different. Lin Tian shook his head. It's best that guy left. Why should we give him a share? It's so strange. Xi and Qingyan snorted and then looked at Lin Tiandao. When they mature, we'll pick them and return to the imperial courtyard. Brother-in-law, you can refine them together. At that time, with brother-in-law's combat strength, you'll be able to fight Lung Feng head-on. I'll leave one for you. You can use it to break through to the divine pulse realm. Lin Tiandao. No need. Brother-in-law, listen to me. I'm not in a hurry to break through to the divine pulse realm. Instead, it's you who needs to improve your cultivation. I don't want to see brother-in-law suppressed by that bastard Lung Feng. Xi and Qingyan shook his head and then laughed. Moreover, brother-in-law, when you become stronger, you'll be able to protect me better. But stop it, brother-in-law. If you continue, you'll treat me as an outsider. Xi and Qingyan said seriously. Lin Tian smiled and said, all right, I'll listen to you. Looking at Xi and Qingyan, Lin Tian was touched. This guy was really loyal. The two of them waited here. Soon, 2 hours had passed. During these 2 hours, there were no wild beasts that came to cause trouble. All right, brother-in-law, we'll be able to pick them soon. Xi and Qingyan said. Lin Tian nodded and stood up from the big rock. At this moment, not far away, the disheveled branches shook. 3 figures walked out from behind. Oh, it's indeed the green spirit plant, one of the skinny men said. His eyes flashed with a bright light. There was another person beside the skinny man. He was dressed in green and had a cold smile on his face. Lin Tian looked at the third person. His eyes turned cold. It was Gretchen, who had left not long ago. At this moment, he didn't need to ask anything. He already knew what was going on. After Gretchen left, she led the others to this place. Brother Su, Brother Li Lan, I didn't lie to you, right? Gretchen said. The skinny man was called Su. The other person was called Li Lan. Both of them nodded in satisfaction. Gretchen, we saved your life and gave you beast cores along the way. How dare you betray us? Has your conscience been eaten by dogs? Xi and Qingyan scolded. Chapter 162. Lin Tian stared at Gretchen coldly. He did not expect that after saving her life, she would repay his kindness with evil and bring others to snatch the blue spirit root. I should have let the amethyst wolf kill this be asterisk starred. Xi and Qingyan scolded. Gretchen snorted and did not care. Whatever you say. All right, I don't want to hear about your trivial matters. The skinny man, Su, stepped forward and stared at Lin Tian. You're Lin Tian, right? You're quite famous in the imperial courtyard recently. Now we want these 3 blue spirit roots. If you two leave obediently, we won't make things difficult for you. You want it? This is what I found. Lin Tian was expressionless. Gretchen saw it too. She has a share too. Su said, Gretchen told us about this place and gave the blue spirit root to young Master Jiang. You better know your place. No one dares to snatch young Master Jiang's things. Xi and Qingyan's face changed slightly. Young Master Jiang? Jiang Renwen? Good that you know. Su said. After getting a positive answer, Xi and Qingyan's face turned ugly. All right, get out of here, Li Lan said impatiently. As he spoke, Li Lan walked toward the 3 blue spirit roots, completely ignoring Lin Tian and Su. Clang! The sword whistled, and a sword light landed beside Li Lan's feet, creating a deep trench on the ground. Who asked you to step forward? Lin Tianling said calmly. Li Lan's face darkened, and a sinister light flashed in his eyes. "How dare you? You're here to snatch my things. Should I stand still?" Lin Tian retorted. Xian Qingyun was shocked. He quickly pulled Lin Tian and whispered, "Brother-in-law, forget it. Let them have the blue spirit roots. We'll leave now." Lin Tian frowned. Xian Qingyun's expression was obviously not right. As a young master of the Xian family in the imperial city, he would not be too afraid even when facing Lung Feng. However, at this moment, he looked like he was very afraid. Xian Qingyun lowered his voice and said, "They are Jiang Renwen's people. We can't afford to offend that person." "Can't afford to offend him?" Lin Tian frowned. Xian Qingyun looked at Li Lan and Su Su with fear. He leaned on Lin Tiandao and said, "Jiang Renwen, the young master of the Jiang clan, one of the 3 great clans in the imperial city. He is 18 years old this year and has a 9-star talent. He is already at the peak of the Divine Pulse realm and ranked first in the imperial city's Fengyun list. And that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is his other identity." "Another identity? What is it?" Lin Tian asked. "Exactly." Xian Qingyun was about to say something when he was interrupted by Li Lan and Su Su. "Enough!" Li Lan stared at the two coldly. Then he glanced at Lin Tian viciously and said, "My patience is limited. I will give you 3 breaths to get out of here immediately. If you don't leave, I will take it that you want to be young Master Zhang's enemy." Xian Qingyun's expression changed slightly. He pulled Lin Tiandao and said, "Brother-in-law, let's go first. I'll tell you more later." "Stop," Lin Tiandao said, and broke free from Xian Qingyun's grip. "This thing is ours," he said to Xian Qingyun. Xian Qingyun was anxious. At this moment, a burst of laughter sounded. "Interesting, really interesting. I didn't expect that there would be someone in the imperial city who dares to go against young Master Jiang. Interesting." Su Su stared at Lin Tian and said with a smile, "Lin Tian, oh Lin Tian, we heard about what you did in the Northern Flame Imperial Academy. We know that you are not easy to deal with. However, we didn't expect you to be so bold as to steal young Master Zhang's things. You are courting death." Guan Yu whispered. Lin Tian was expressionless. He didn't care about Su Su's laughter at all. He said indifferently, "Were your eyes eaten by a dog? Or was your head caught by a door? Or did your mother lose her when she gave birth to you and raised the placenta?" "What did you say?" Su Su's face darkened. "If you have a brain, you should know that this thing is mine. Now, you are the ones who are stealing it from me," Lin Tianling said indifferently. Su Su and Li Lan's eyes turned vicious. "You are the first person who dares to go against young Master Jiang in the imperial city." Su Su sneered. Li Lan's eyes were especially gloomy. A strong aura spread out. "Teach him a lesson." As they spoke, the two of them approached Lin Tian. Seeing this, Xian Qingyun's expression changed. On the other side, Guan Yu sneered and took a few steps back. "How dare you talk back to young Master Zhang's men? You are courting death." Guan Yu knew how terrifying Jiang Renwen was. Even some of the elders in the imperial courtyard were afraid of him. Moreover, Su Su and Li Lan weren't weak either. They were both disciples of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard, and their cultivation was at the 6th level of the Divine Vein Realm. Seeing Su Su and Li Lan closing in, Xian Qingyun's expression turned uglier. "Please forgive us. We will leave now," Xian Qingyun said and dragged Lin Tian away. He said in a low voice, "Brother-in-law, let's go. They are Jiang Renwen's men, and they are not weak. Most importantly, we can't offend Jiang Renwen." Lin Tian shook his head. "They are just 2 dogs. Don't worry about them." Hearing Lin Tian's words, Su Su and Li Lan's expression darkened. Lin Tian actually dared to scold them. Li Lan's expression turned sinister. "Courting death." Li Lan took a step forward and arrived in front of Lin Tian in an instant. He slapped his palm down. "Get lost," Lin Tian said coldly. His legs shot out like lightning, kicking Li Lan's stomach. Li Lan screamed and flew backward with a bang. He hit an old tree not far away and coughed out a mouthful of blood. Su Su was shocked. He did not expect Li Lan to be sent flying by Lin Tian with just one kick. At this moment, Lin Tian pushed Xian Qingyun's hand away. The broken wound sword in his hand vibrated. Suddenly, a sword force rushed towards Su Su. It was so fast that Su Su did not even have time to react before he was slashed by the sword. Blood splashed out. Xian Qingyun's eyes widened. He stared at the scene in disbelief. He could feel the strength of Li Lan and Su Su. It was definitely not something that Gretchen could compare with. However, these two powerful people were sent flying by Lin Tian's kick and slashed by his sword. How powerful was his combat strength? Li Lan struggled to stand up. He clutched his stomach and stared at Lin Tian viciously. "How dare you?" Lin Tian swept a glance at Li Lan and appeared in front of him in a flash. "You're a dog for others. What else can you say when you're being beaten?" As he spoke, he slapped Li Lan with lightning speed. With a bang, Li Lan was sent flying again. His teeth mixed with blood fell out. "You," Li Lan spat out blood. His face was full of shock. "What did I do?" Lin Tian quickly took a few steps forward and arrived in front of Li Lan once again. His foot viciously landed on Li Lan's chest as he said, "I remember that you said you would teach me a lesson. Now, I'll return those words to you." As he spoke, Lin Tian attacked once more, and he grabbed Li Lan's arm and twisted it fiercely. With a crack, Li Lan's entire arm was instantly broken by him. "Ah!" Li Lan screamed. He was in so much pain that cold sweat ran down his forehead. At the same time, Li Lan was shocked. He was at the sixth sky of Divine Pulse, but he could not see Lin Tian's movements clearly. Moreover, Lin Tian's strength was too terrifying. "Li Lan?" On the other side, Su Su's expression changed. He called out subconsciously. Lin Tianling glanced at him coldly. "Oh, right, and you?" With a clang, he performed the Azure Thunder Sword technique. A sword light slashed out and pierced through Su Su's right leg. Su Su immediately let out a blood-curdling scream, which made one's scalp go numb. "How dare you attack us and steal young Master Zhang's things? Just you wait. Young Master Zhang will kill you," Su Su said fiercely. "How dare you say I'm stealing from him?" Lin Tian's eyes turned cold. He waved the injury-breaking sword in his hand. Another Azure Thunder Sword aura pierced through Su Su's right arm. Then he came in front of Su Su and kicked him to the ground. "I'll give you one more chance. Who's stealing from whom?" The injury-breaking sword flashed with electric arcs. It hovered above Su Su's eyes. The tip of the sword was less than half an inch away from his eyes. Such a scene made Su Su's expression change. Yes, we're the ones who stole from you," Su Su said in a trembling voice. If his right leg and arm were pierced, he could still recover. But if his eyes were pierced, there would be no way to recover. Su Su didn't dare to bet that Lin Tian wouldn't attack him. Lin Tianling snorted. He moved his foot away from Su Su's chest and kicked Su Sun's waist. With a bang, Su Su was immediately sent flying, crashing into an old tree not far away. "Oh my God!" Xian Qingyun was stunned. On the other side, Gretchen was even more shocked. She didn't expect that Su Su and Li Lan, who were in the 6th tier of the Divine Pulse, would be defeated so easily. She couldn't help but tremble. In the next moment, her expression changed again because Lin Tian was walking toward her. "What are you doing?" Gretchen couldn't help but take a step back. With a clang, a sword aura slashed at her. It was as fast as lightning. Puff! With a flash of blood, one of Gretchen's arms flew out diagonally. Blood splattered into the air and even splashed onto Gretchen's face. In that instant, Gretchen's face was contorted, and her other hand was clutching her broken arm. She knelt on the ground and screamed crazily. "I saved your life, but you repaid my kindness with ingratitude. Now that I've cut off one of your arms, you should be content," Lin Tianling said. As he spoke, he slashed out with his sword and completely crushed Gretchen's broken arm. After doing all this, he didn't even look at Gretchen. Instead, he went to the 3 blue spirit roots. At this time, the aroma of the 3 blue spirit roots had reached its peak. Obviously, it was time to pick them. Without hesitation, He used his true essence to loosen the soil and slowly pulled out the 3 blue spirit roots. After that, an even more shocking spiritual aura rushed toward them. Lin Tian couldn't help but be surprised. The concentration of spiritual aura was really shocking. Let's go. After putting away the 3 blue spirit roots into the stone ring, Lin Tian turned around and said to Xi and Xingyun. After that, he didn't care about Su Su and the other 2 and left in a direction. Xi and Xingyun numbly nodded his head and followed behind Lin Tian as they left. Chapter 163. Lin Tian and Xi and Xingyun left the canyon and came to a spacious grassland. Seeing Xi and Xingyun's sluggish expression, Lin Tian couldn't help but stop. "What's wrong?" he asked. Xi and Xingyun said with a sad face, "Brother-in-law, we are in big trouble this time." "Because of that Jiang Renwen?" Lin Tiandao asked. "Yes, it's Jiang Renwen." Xi and Xingyun nodded. Lin Tian looked at Xi and Xingyun and paused. He walked to the side and sat down. "Tell me, why are you so afraid of that Jiang Renwen? A 9-star talent is nothing special. Reaching the peak of the divine range at the age of 18 is nothing special. The number 1 on the billboard doesn't mean much. It shouldn't make you so afraid." "Why?" Hearing Lin Tian's words, Xi and Xingyun was speechless. A 9-star talent is nothing special? Reaching the peak of the divine range at the age of 18 is nothing special? The number 1 on the billboard doesn't mean much? Thinking about it, Xi and Xingyun couldn't help but roll his eyes. Only this person in front of him could say these words so calmly. Sighing, Xi and Xingyun squatted down and said, "Didn't I mention to you before? That guy has another identity, one that even the royal family of Beiyin and the elders of the Imperial College are afraid of." "What identity?" Lin Tian asked. He had indeed heard Xi and Xingyun mention this before, but at that time, Xi and Xingyun's words were interrupted. Xi and Xingyun stared at Lin Tian, took a deep breath, and said seriously, "It is said that the guy has been chosen by a sect." Lin Tian was a little confused. "Sect?" Looking at Lin Tian, Xi and Xingyun was a little surprised. "Brother-in-law? You don't know about sects?" Lin Tian shook his head. This was the first time he heard of these 2 words. "I thought brother-in-law knew about it. However, it's normal that you don't know. After all, only the imperial family and a few big families in the imperial city know about the sections. The rest might have heard some rumors." Xi and Xingyun stared at Lin Tian and said in a serious tone, "Sects and clans do not appear in the secular world, but they are absolute existences that surpass imperial power and empires. It is said that there are not many people in those sects and clans, but each and every one of them is a mighty one, and there are even airborne realm beings in charge. It can be said that if a sect wants to destroy a big country, it's as easy as eating and drinking." Lin Tianwei was shocked. So strong? There was actually an airborne realm cultivator in the sect. He knew that even the guardian of the royal family of Beiyin was only at the 7th level of the Sea of Consciousness, and he was still worshipped as a god. However, there were airborne realm cultivators in the sect. Very strong. It was terrifying. Anyway, it's beyond the knowledge of ordinary people like us. Xi and Xingyun's face was sad. It is said that a year ago, Jiang Renwen was chosen by an elder of a sect who was wandering outside. When he was 19 years old, he would leave Beiyin and go to that sect to cultivate and become a member of the sect. Once he becomes a member of the sect, he is on a different level from us. Even the imperial family has to be respectful to him. It is because of this that that guy is feared by everyone in the imperial city. Lin Tianwei was silent for a moment. So that was the case. No wonder Xi and Xingyun was so afraid when he heard the name Jiang Renwen. "Do you know how many sects there are in this world, and which one of them chose Jiang Renwen?" he asked. "I don't know about this. In short, there is more than one sect. As for which sect Jiang Renwen was chosen by, I don't know. Those are all secrets. I guess only the imperial family and the masters of a few big families know about it." Xi and Xingyun said. "I see." Lin Tian nodded. "That's right." Xi and Xingyun had an aggrieved look on his face. "See, brother-in-law, I already told you to leave. The blue spirit root should have been given to those 2 people. Look, That guy Jiang Runwen is very arrogant and overbearing. He definitely won't let you go. Lin Tian was speechless. This guy actually looked aggrieved. Okay, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal, he said. He also knew that Xian Qingyun was worried about him. Xian Qingyun rolled his eyes. It's not a big deal? Of course, think about it. If I came to the imperial city earlier, Jiang Runwen would have nothing to do with me. Maybe, after a few days, when the so-called elder of that sect jumps out again, he will take a fancy to me instead. Lin Tian joked. Xian Qingyun's eyes lit up. That sounds reasonable. After a pause, he stared at Lin Tian and said, Brother-in-law, why do I feel that you are very narcissistic? It's confidence, Lin Tian corrected. Okay, confidence. But no matter how confident you are, it's useless. You're now several small realms lower than him. Xian Qingyun poured cold water on him, which was rare. Lin Tian Dao, so now I have to work harder to gain experience. Gain experience? Not going back for now? Xian Qingyun said. It's been less than 2 days. What's the hurry? At least stay for half a month, Lin Tian said. As he said, Lin Tian stood up, looked around a little, and then walked in a certain direction. Wait for my brother-in-law. Xian Qingyun hurried to follow him. In the next few days, Lin Tianyi kept gaining experience in the Beast Demon Ridge, while Xian Qingyun completely became a bystander. Because Lin Tian almost always looked for 5th-level demonic beasts to fight, and sometimes he even looked for 6th-level demonic beasts to practice. In the end, Xian Qingyun completely became the person who harvested demonic beast cores. On the 7th day, the two found a medium-sized cave in front of them. Let's go in and have a rest. Lin Tian Dao. Xian Qingyun was naturally looking forward to this. In these 7 days, watching Lin Tian fight with the ferocious demonic beasts made his little heart beat wildly. Being able to relax and rest for a while was definitely something he was happy to see. The cave was a little damp. After entering, Lin Tian sat down on a gray stone. Glancing around, he took out a blue spirit root from the stone ring. Brother-in-law, what are you doing? Xian Qingyun was puzzled. Refining it for cultivation. Lin Tian Dao. Xian Qingyun panicked and hurriedly grabbed Lin Tian's hand. Don't, brother-in-law. Keep it for now. When the time comes, we might be able to use this thing to reconcile with Jiang Runwen. If you refine it now, then there's really no way out. Lin Tian stared at Xian Qingyun and said, Do you think I'm the kind of person who will compromise? No. Xian Qingyun shook his head without hesitation. Then it's settled. Lin Tian Dao, not to mention Jiang Runwen. Even if the people from the real sect came and asked him to hand over what should belong to him, he would absolutely not do it. Perhaps in life, one had to know when to advance and when to retreat. But Lin Tian didn't want to be like this. After being reborn, he wanted to live freely and freely. Most importantly, he hated being bullied. But, okay, don't worry. It's just Jiang Runwen. Give me some time, and I will completely destroy him. Xian Qingyun still wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by Lin Tian. Xian Qingyun had no choice but to roll his eyes. Brother-in-law, your words are so domineering. My sister must like you very much. Lin Tian. Letting Xian Qingyun help to look around, he began to operate the 4 extreme scriptures. Suddenly, the spirit of heaven and earth rolled in. After about half an hour, his essence, qi, and spirit reached the peak. At this time, he put the blue spirit root into his mouth and chewed. Mixed with the amazing aroma, he swallowed it little by little into his stomach. After about 10 breaths, Lin Tian's body shook. He clearly felt that his body was full of spirit energy, as if it was drowned by a flood. Moreover, this spirit energy seemed to have a mind of its own and actually rushed into his meridians. It passed through the meridians on its own and guided the meridians to the nearby Dao meridians. This, Lin Tian was a little surprised. This was a precious medicine that was worth millions of spirit coins. It was indeed extraordinary. Putting aside his shock, Lin Tian quickly took a deep breath. Then, he used his own strength to guide the meridians in his body. And under this vast amount of spiritual energy, he approached the nearby Tao Yin. Now he started to build the sixth meridian of the human body. This meridian was from the head to the spleen of the 5 internal organs. Buzz! A faint light surrounded the surface of Lin Tian's body. His aura was rapidly becoming stronger. Xi and Qingyun stood aside and felt the aura from Lin Tian's body. He couldn't help but be surprised. So strong. Xi and Qingyun's eyes widened. As far as he knew, this aura was comparable to an expert of the 6th level of the divine range. Outside Lin Tian's body, the light was getting stronger. Soon more than half of the 6th meridian was built. His aura had become much stronger. At this time, the first blue spirit root was used up. He took out the second blue spirit root. Just like before, he operated the 4 extreme scripture while chewing and swallowing the blue spirit root. Suddenly, the spirit energy surged again. At this time, the light outside Lin Tian's body was getting stronger and stronger. Just a little more, Lin Tian muttered to himself. When building the meridians, the body would feel intense pain. However, at this time, Lin Tian completely ignored the pain. At this time, he had already built about 90% of the 6th meridian. There was only 10% left to complete. Brother-in-law, do your best, Xi and Qingyun said. He could feel that Lin Tian's aura was about to break through a critical point. Once this critical point was broken, it would be the 6th level of the divine range. Lin Tian closed his eyes. His spirit, energy, and spirit were highly concentrated. He was especially focused at the last moment. Soon, an hour passed. Boom! At this moment, a strong surge of true origin rushed out of Lin Tian's body. Suddenly, the surrounding area was stirred up. Xi and Qingyun was not far away. His clothes and hair were fluttering in the wind. He had to cover his face with his hand. After a few breaths, the wind finally subsided. Lin Tian opened his eyes and stood up from the gray stone platform. He clenched his fists as a smile appeared on his face. How is it, brother-in-law? Xi and Qingyun jumped over. 6th level of the divine range. Lin Tian smiled. Xi and Qingyun was delighted. That's great. In this case, with your combat strength, you don't have to worry about Long Feng anymore. Lin Tian nodded. Now, he was strong enough to fight Long Feng head-on. Moreover, he was confident of winning. However, Jiang Renwen is still a big problem. Xi and Qingyun pulled a long face again. Chapter 164. Jiang Renwen was too strong. He was perfect in every aspect. Most importantly, he was valued by sects that didn't show themselves in the secular world, which made his image extremely lofty. When Xi and Qingyun thought that Lin Tian had offended Jiang Renwen, he couldn't feel happy, even if Lin Tian had reached the 6th sky of the divine range. Don't worry, trust me. Lin Tian Dao. I trust you, brother-in-law, just like how I trust my sister. But that Jiang Renwen is really scary. Xi and Qingyun said. Lin Tian shook his head, but he didn't care. Taking out the last blue spirit root from the stone ring, Lin Tian handed it to Xi and Qingyun. There is one left. If you refine it now, it should be enough for you to reach the divine range realm. Xi and Qingyun glanced at it and immediately shook his head. What's wrong? Lin Tian was surprised. Xi and Qingyun said, it's a good thing that there is one left. Brother-in-law, keep it. Even if there is only one, it may reduce Jiang Renwen's anger. That guy is really scary. Even the elders of the Imperial College are afraid of him. It's okay, I don't care. Lin Tiandao. I care. My sister will definitely care. If I can leave a glimmer of hope, a glimmer of hope. If I swallow the last glimmer of hope now, my sister will definitely beat me when she knows. My sister is actually very powerful. Xi and Qingyun cried with a long face. Lin Tian was speechless and didn't know what to say. In the end, he didn't force Xi and Qingyun and kept the last blue spirit root. Brother-in-law, are we going back now? Xi and Qingyun asked. Lin Tian shook his head. No hurry. Let's wait for a few more days. I want to consolidate my realm first. In the past 2 months, he felt that his cultivation had broken through too fast. Okay. Xian Qingyun nodded. To be honest, Xian Qingyun really didn't want to go back to the college now. He always felt that nothing good would come out of it. Lin Tian seemed to know what Xian Qingyun was thinking. He patted Xian Qingyun's shoulder and said, "Don't think too much." After leaving the cave, he and Xian Qingyun walked out and looked around before heading deeper into the Demon Beast Ridge. This forest had existed for a very long time. The deeper one went, the stronger the demonic beasts were. "Brother-in-law, take it easy," Xian Qingyun muttered. In the past 7 days, Lin Tian had been looking for 5th-level demonic beasts to fight, which made him both shocked and scared. "No problem," Lin Tian Dao. About 2 hours later, boom. In an old forest, Lin Tian Sun encountered a Class 6 demonic beast. He immediately charged forward and engaged it in battle. Xian Qingyun hid behind an old tree. The demonic aura in the surrounding space was extremely shocking. When he saw the scene of Lin Tian fighting the level 6 demonic beast in front of him, his forehead broke out in cold sweat. That was a demonic beast that was comparable to the peak of the 7th firmament of the divine vein realm. A moment later, a blood-curdling scream rang out, causing the ground to tremble. "Collect the beast cores," Lin Tian shouted. After a fierce battle with a level 6 lightning ant, Lin Tian killed it with a Nirvana fist. "Brother-in-law, didn't you say you would take it easy? Why are you looking for a level 6 demonic beast again?" Xian Qingyun pulled a long face. Lin Tian spread out his hands and said, "I'm already at the 6th firmament of the divine vein realm. Isn't it normal to find a level 6 demonic beast that is comparable to the 7th firmament of the divine vein realm to practice? This is already very suppressive. Well, I'm taking it easy." Xian Qingyun, after a pause, Xian Qingyun was too lazy to argue and said, "Brother-in-law, you're getting more and more skilled in this fist art." These days, Xian Qingyun had seen Lin Tian perform the Nirvana fist many times, so he had some understanding of this fist art. "Nirvana fist art, I've mastered about 70%. Lin Tian smiled. "Already 70%? So fast?" "This is a martial technique at the peak of the divine vein realm." Xian Qingyun was shocked. Lin Tian smiled. "It's okay." Now, when he executed the Nirvana fist arts, he could even conceal the fluctuations of true essence. Of course, this was only to a certain extent. After all, he hadn't completely grasped this fist art, and only grasped 70% of it. Moreover, when too much true yuan was compressed to the end of the fist, his body would feel intense pain. Next, Lin Tian began to go deeper into the demonic beast ridge. Boom! Soon, the battle started again. In order to consolidate his realm and train his battle awareness, Lin Tian mostly fought with level 6 demonic beasts. After every battle, he felt that his spiritual sense had become stronger, and the heavenly one spirit art was running smoother. Soon, half a month passed. On this day, at the edge of the demonic beast ridge, Lin Tian and Xian Qingyun finally walked out. "We're finally out?" Xian Qingyun patted his chest and let out a long sigh. He had been training with Lin Tian in the demonic beast ridge for half a month. It could be said that Xian Qingyun was excited and scared at the same time, excited and uncomfortable at the same time. It was because the demonic beasts that Lin Tian had fought with were all abnormally powerful. Not to mention the level 5 demonic beasts and level 6 demonic beasts. There was one time when Lin Tian had even provoked a level 6 peak demonic beast, which was a tyrannical existence comparable to a 9th heavenly layer divine vein. At that time, Xian Qingyun was so scared that his heart almost jumped out of his chest. Lin Tian smiled. "Let's go back to the college." After half a month of training, his aura became more condensed, and his cultivation at the 6th sky of the divine vein realm was completely consolidated. Moreover, at the same time, he had mastered 80% of the Nirvana fist art, and could perform it with greater ease. Soon, both of them returned to the Imperial Courtyard. After returning to the Imperial Courtyard, Lin Tian noticed that many people were looking at him strangely, and some were even pointing at him and whispering, "That Lin Tian, he's finally back. This guy is going to be unlucky this time." Alas, it said that he offended that person. Many disciples of the imperial courtyard were whispering. Lin Tian's cultivation was now very strong. Although the disciples of the imperial courtyard were whispering, he could still hear them clearly, and immediately frowned. "What's wrong, brother-in-law?" Xi and Qingyun asked. "Nothing." Lin Tian shook his head. Xi and Qingyun scanned the surroundings. After a pause, he leaned closer to Lin Tian and whispered, "Speaking of which, brother-in-law, I have a very bad premonition. Moreover, why do I feel that the way these fellows look at you is, very sympathetic?" "You're right." Lin Tian smiled. Soon, Lin Tian brought Xi and Qingyun back to his residence. Just as he opened the door and walked in, but had not even warmed up from sitting down when Su Zhou rushed over. "You little guy, how did you offend Jiang Renwen?" This was Su Zhou's first sentence. Lin Tian didn't pay much attention to it, but Xi and Qingyun was surprised. "Instructor Su, how did you know?" "Nonsense, how could I not know?" More than 10 days ago, Jiang Renwen asked Lin Tian to go to see him and return the thing to him. Su Zhou looked at Lin Tian anxiously. "You robbed Jiang Renwen's thing?" Lin Tian smiled, but his face was full of disdain. "His thing? Return it to him? What's going on?" Seeing Lin Tian's expression, Su Zhou was a little confused. "It's like this." Xi and Qingyun opened his mouth and briefly told him what happened. Hearing this, Su Zhou suddenly fell silent. "Is the blue spiritual root still there?" Su Zhou asked Lin Tian. "There's one left." Lin Tian Dao. Su Zhou patted Lin Tian's shoulder and said, "Little guy, although this will make you unhappy, you'd better hand over the last blue spiritual root. In this way, Jiang Renwen may let you go." Lin Tian frowned. "That's mine." "I know, but he's Jiang Renwen." Su Zhou said helplessly. "So what?" "He's the king of heaven. There's no reason for me to hand over my own thing." Lin Tian Dao. Su Zhou smiled bitterly. "I know you're like this. It seems that I've come here for nothing. Suit yourself." After that, Su Zhou shook his head and walked out. Not long after Su Zhou left, the two elders, Han He and Lu Lan, came in person. "Lin Tian, what's going on? How did you offend Jiang Renwen?" The two went straight to the point. Seeing that the two elders actually came here, Lin Tian couldn't help but smile. "Jiang Renwen, you're really powerful." Han He and Lu Lan's voice deepened as they repeated, "What's going on?" This time, Lin Tian opened his mouth and gave a simple account of the events that had occurred. Han He and Lu Lan frowned at the same time, just like Su Zhou. Then, the two elders' words were actually the same as Su Zhou's. "Lin Tian, there are still blue spiritual roots left, right? If there are, hand them over to Jiang Renwen. The two of us can go with you. I believe Jiang Renwen won't make things difficult for you." The two of them had great expectations for Lin Tian. Naturally, they didn't want anything to happen to Lin Tian. Lin Tian stared at the two elders. He knew that the two elders had good intentions, but he shook his head. If he were to hand over his belongings, he would have to go over himself. He would never do that. Hani stared at Lin Tian and said solemnly, "Since the establishment of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard, there has always been a taboo rule in order to restrain the disciples. That is, no one is allowed to kill fellow disciples. Those who violate this rule will be killed without mercy. You've killed 2 people in the Imperial Courtyard. Due to the dragon mark token in your possession and the 9th Prince's pleading on your behalf, we decided to forgive you. Otherwise, you'd already be dead. In the end, you're still within the rules." After saying this, Hani paused for a second before continuing. "As for Jiang Renwen, the rules of the Imperial Courtyard can't restrict him at all. He dares to kill anyone in the Imperial Courtyard, and we can't do anything to him, nor do we have the ability to do anything to him. Even the royal family can only remain silent. Do you understand what I'm saying?" "You mean, even if Jiang Renwen kills me in the Imperial Courtyard, you won't say anything? Even if you see him trying to kill me, you won't stop him?" Lin Tian asked calmly. Han He and Lu Lan didn't evade this question and nodded. After receiving their answer, Lin Tianji smiled faintly. "I don't want to say that it's unfair because there is no such thing as fairness in this world. I won't say that the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard is Jiang Renwen's back garden. I only want to ask. Lin Tian stared at Han He and Lu Lan. If I kill him, what will you do? Chapter 165. Hearing Lin Tian's words, Han He and Lu Lan's expressions changed slightly. Baidu %search for which god era plus read this book #latest chapters After a pause, the two shook their heads, thinking that Lin Tian was just speaking out of anger. After all, with Lin Tian's current cultivation, how could he be Jiang Renwen's opponent? I don't want to say much about this matter. We're here for your own good. You should know that. Han He sighed. I know, and I thank the two elders for their kindness. Lin Tiandao. Lu Lan glanced at Xi and Qingyun, then looked at Lin Tiandao. You might already know Jiang Renwen's identity. I'll repeat it here. Jiang Renwen, 18 years old, 9-star talent, 9th level divine vein, first on the wind cloud list. Moreover, he's chosen by a terrifying sect. You should know this very well, right? Yes. Lin Tian was very calm. Lu Lan nodded and said, Then, what's your answer to Jiang Renwen? Lin Tian stared at the two and shook his head. Han He and Lu Lan looked at Lin Tian. Seeing this action, a glint flashed in their eyes. If Jiang Renwen wasn't here, you might be the first in your generation in the Imperial City. Han He said, although Lin Tian's decision was rash and did not know the severity of the situation. How could an ordinary person have this kind of courage? Since you have such awareness, we won't force you. There is still more than a day left before the deadline set by Jiang Renwen. If you change your mind at the last moment, come find us at any time. We will accompany you to see Jiang Renwen. Lu Lan said. As he spoke, Lu Lan handed Lin Tian a voice-transmitting talisman. Lin Tian took it and bowed. Thank you, elders. Han He and Lu Lan waved their hands, sighed, and then walked out. Lin Tian personally escorted the two of them to the door, and only closed the door after watching them leave. Brother-in-law, a real man knows when to stretch. Xin Qingyun said. Staring at Lin Tian, Xin Qingyun had an expectant look on his face. Clearly, he hoped that Lin Tian would do as Han He and he said. Lin Tian was speechless. Being able to stretch and shrink as you wish isn't a man, it's a turtle. All right, a real man can be both soft and hard. Lin Tian was speechless. Get lost. What kind of nonsense was this guy's brain filled with? Brother-in-law, be careful. You can't die. If you die, my sister will be a widow. Can you bear to do that? Xi and Qingyun hugged Lin Tian's thigh. Lin Tian was sweating profusely. I was certain that I would die. If I were your sister, I would definitely beat you to death right now. The sky gradually darkened. Lin Tian finally got Xi and Qingyun to calm down and cultivate. He walked to the other side, took out many things from the stone ring, and began to inscribe array patterns. When he left Fengjin City, he bought many materials from the Array Manipulator Guild and the Treasure Exchange Pavilion, piling up more than half of the stone ring. At this moment, he took out some materials, calmly inscribing the simple martial fusion rune and the 3rd-level solitary lock rune. The night passed quickly. When it was almost dawn, Lin Tian glanced at Xin Qingyun, who was still cultivating, nodded, and walked out of his residence. In the outer courtyard residential area, the distance between every two rooms was not short. Lin Tian walked around his residence from time to time, setting a few spots, and then buried some small things one by one. 2 hours later, Lin Tian exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and clapped his hands. Done. Muttering to himself, Lin Tian walked back into his room. Xi and Qingyun had already stopped cultivating. Seeing Lin Tian come in, he said, Brother-in-law, why were you wandering outside just now? Isn't it the job of old men with grizzled beards to take a walk in the morning? Little brat, what are you talking about? Lin Tian glanced at Xi and Qingyun. Xi and Qingyun was immediately dissatisfied. Brother-in-law, I'm only a few months younger than you. That's still young. Xi and Qingyun directly stopped talking. On this day, Lin Tian did not walk out of the residential area, but cultivated in his residence. The Nirvana Fist art was very special. Unlike the meteorite fist and the azure thunder sword technique, the nirvana fist art focused on compressing and controlling the genuine essence. This kind of thing, even in the room, could be cultivated at will, as long as the compressed genuine essence was not blasted out. Brother-in-law, do you want to go to the wild sand world? Xin Chengyin asked. Lin Tian shook his head and said, not for now. Why? To entertain guests. Xin Chengyin was slightly stunned, and then he instantly understood. Brother-in-law, you mean Jiang Renwen will come to make trouble? It's possible. Xin Chengyin was anxious. Then why don't you run away? Lin Tian. Glancing at Xin Chengyin, he said, I think you'd better go home first. Xin Chengyin opened his mouth and suddenly shook his head. I won't go back. I'll stay here with my brother-in-law. Xin Chengyin said, aren't you very afraid of Jiang Renwen? Lin Tian was curious and said, besides, it's useless for you to stay with me. At most, you can stay here and watch the fun. Xin Chengyin was immediately dissatisfied and curled his lips. Brother-in-law, you are discriminating against me. Lin Tian blushed with shame. No, you think too much. Anyway, I won't go back. How can a real man run away when facing a strong enemy? Xin Chengyin waved his hand. Lin Tian was amused. Don't they say a real man can stretch and shrink? That's a turtle. Can be soft and hard. Xin Chengyin squinted at Lin Tian and said, brother-in-law, you are such a hooligan. A few black lines appeared on Lin Tian's forehead. He really wanted to slap this fellow. Lin Tian, come out. At this moment, a cold shout was heard. Lin Tian looked at the door. The voice was very familiar. Coming. Lin Tian said to Xin Chengyin, coming. Xin Chengyin replied, but his cheeks were slightly pale. Lin Tian smiled, opened the door, and walked out. He saw two young men standing 30 feet away from the door. They were Li Lan and Su Su, who wanted to snatch the blue spiritual root in Demonic Beast Ridge not long ago. Have you recovered from your injuries? Lin Tian said calmly. Li Lan and Su Su's faces suddenly darkened. A wisp of anger flashed in their eyes as they recalled what happened in Demonic Beast Ridge. Young Master Jiang ordered us to go see him immediately. At the same time, hand over the blue spiritual root that you snatched from him. Su Su said coldly. His stuff? Snatched? Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. At this moment, the outer courtyard residence was surrounded by many people. The news that Jiang Run wanted to see Lin Tian had spread throughout the entire Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. Seeing Su Su and Li Lan coming here, many people guessed what would happen. Naturally, they followed them all the way here. At this moment, they were all looking in their direction from afar. Since Gretchen gave the blue spiritual root to young Master Jiang, then the 3 blue spiritual roots belonged to him. You snatched young Master Jiang's stuff in Demonic Beast Ridge, but young Master Jiang is kind enough to give you a chance to redeem yourself. Apologize in person and hand over the spiritual roots. If you do that, young Master Jiang might let you live. Li Lan said. Staring at the two of them, Lin Tian still narrowed his eyes. Let me ask you one more time. Who snatched whose stuff? Li Lan snorted. You snatched young Master Jiang's stuff. Staring at Lin Tian, Li Lan and Su Su's expression turned cold. Although they knew Lin Tian was strong, this was the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. Here, they were not afraid of Lin Tian. Very good. I am very satisfied with this answer. As soon as Lin Tiandao finished speaking, he instantly appeared in front of the two of them. 2 quick iron fists were thrown out, and the two of them were instantly sent flying. After that, he picked up where he left off and said, because I was in a bad mood and needed to find someone to vent. Your answers gave me an excuse to vent. You clang. The sound of a sword whistling could be heard. The broken wound sword appeared in Lin Tian's hand. With a wave of his hand, dozens of sword rays shot out. PFFF. PFFF. Blood splattered out. At the same time, Li Lan and Su Su's screams could be heard. At this moment, the two of them were in a miserable state. Their clothes were almost completely torn by the sword rays, and their bodies were covered in blood. You, staring at Lin Tian, The two of them were shocked and furious. Lin Tianan looked at the two of them coldly. He raised his right hand, and a sword ray landed beside the two of them. It slashed a deep sword mark on the ground. If Jiang Runwen wants the blue spiritual roots, ask him to come find me himself. Of course, if you are willing to stand up for him, I don't mind. However, don't blame me if you die. Su Su and Li Lan's faces were pale as they stared at Lin Tian with hatred. Just you wait. After saying this, the two of them supported each other and left the residence area of the outer yard in a sorry state. Outside the outer court, many spectators took the initiative to open up a path. Only when Su Su and Li Lan had walked far away did these people look at Lin Tian once more, and all of them couldn't help but gasp while the shock on their faces couldn't be concealed no matter what. This guy is already so strong. That's a disciple of the King's Yard. What terrifying combat strength! Many people were shocked by Lin Tian's combat strength. He had just entered the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard, and his combat strength had already reached such a level. It was too terrifying. However, this guy is too daring. That's someone close to Jiang Runwen. He's going against Jiang Runwen by doing this. Where did he get such courage? Oh no, fighting with Jiang Runwen. Isn't he courting death? Sigh, what a pity for such a talent. Many people murmured. Lin Tian was obviously going against Jiang Runwen. Therefore, no one was optimistic about Lin Tian. This was normal. After all, even Xan Qingyun was like this. Brother-in-law. Xan Qingyun looked at Lin Tian anxiously. Obviously, this guy still hoped that Lin Tian would follow Han He and Lu Lan's instructions. A warrior can be killed, but not humiliated. You should know this, right? Lin Tian Dao. Yes. Xian Qingyun nodded. Lin Tian smiled, then it settled. You and your sister wouldn't want me to be a coward, right? No, we don't. Xian Qingyun shook his head. Then it's fine. Go inside and wait. It's still early today. Maybe you can watch a good show. Lin Tiantan said indifferently. Xian Qingyun blinked and asked curiously, what show? Don't ask, just watch. Lin Tiandao. He stood quietly outside his residence, holding the broken wound sword in one hand. He did not move at all. Not long after, there was a commotion in the distance. The crowd was pushed aside, and more than 20 young men walked over. All of them were extraordinary and emitted powerful auras. Chapter 166. The expressions of all the onlookers in the residential area of the outer courtyard changed when they saw these 20-odd people. Baidu and search which God era read this book #Disciples of the King's Yard. 25 people, except for Jiang Runwen, Duan Wenbo, and Leng Feng, as well as the severely injured Su Su and Li Lan. Everyone else is here. Jiang Runwen is known as the King of the King's Yard. These disciples of the King's Yard obviously don't have good intentions. This Lin Tian is doomed. Someone couldn't help but shake his head. Xian Qingyun stayed in his room and watched this scene. His face turned pale. 25 youths, all of them full of energy, with cold expressions on their faces, directly came to Lin Tian's residence. You're Lin Tian? One of them stood out and looked at Lin Tian coldly. Seeing this person, many onlookers gulped. Liang Qing, 7th sky of the divine range, 4th on the ranking stone. He's not much weaker than Leng Feng. Many people couldn't help but feel shocked. Lin Tian stood with the lust wound sword and looked at Liang Qing indifferently. His expression didn't change at all. Why are you here? He asked calmly. Liang Qing said coldly, Young Master Jiang ordered you to go. Why don't you go? Behind Liang Qing, the other 24 people all looked indifferent. Many of them even had a mocking smile on their faces. A new student of the Imperial Yard dared to disobey the King of the King's Yard? This was courting death. Lin Tian looked at the 25 people and narrowed his eyes. It seems that you're here to cause trouble for me? The dozens of people were stunned. Then, they all laughed at the same time. You're right if you think so, one of them said. Lin Tian looked over. It was a young man in yellow, about 20 years old. He had a mocking expression on his face. At times like this, I love it when you come to cause trouble. Lin Tian smiled. As soon as he finished speaking, his right hand shook. Instantly, a ray of sword light shot out. With a poof, the young man in yellow was penetrated and flew several feet away. You, the yellow-clothed youth spat out a mouthful of blood. His clothes were dyed red as he glared at Lin Tian. However, in the next moment, another sword ray slashed over. Be careful, Liang Qing shouted and slashed out a saber aura from the side, shattering Lin Tian's sword aura. The yellow-clothed youth could be considered to have dodged this sword, but he was still heavily injured. Just one sword strike, and he made a disciple of the Imperial compound lose his ability to fight? Isn't he too strong? That's an expert of the 6th heavenly layer of the divine range. The hearts of many onlookers palpitated. At the same time, all the other disciples of the king's courtyard were shocked. A new student who had just entered the Imperial courtyard not long ago actually had such terrifying battle prowess? How could he injure one of them so easily? Liang Qing's expression darkened. How dare you? You're just a new student, yet you dare to do this. Dozens of people stared at Lin Tian, their eyes turning cold. Looking at these people, Lin Tian's eyes turned cold. So what? You came here to provoke me, and you want me to be peaceful? I'm warning you, don't provoke me. If you provoke me, I'll kill all of you. It's not the first time I've done this, so you'd better be mentally prepared. Also, don't be too eager to be someone else's dog. Hearing his words, the crowd of onlookers sucked in a cold breath. Kill all of them? These are all disciples of the Imperial compound. Where did he get his confidence from? Someone's heart palpitated. At this moment, the expressions of Liang Qing and the others were extremely unsightly. As far as they were concerned, Lin Tian was truly too arrogant. Not only had he threatened to kill all of them, he'd even publicly called them dogs. He was truly too rampant. You're courting death, Liang Qing said. A steel saber appeared in his hand, and coldness spread out. Upper-grade spiritual weapon, someone whispered. Holding the spiritual saber, Liang Qing directly pressed toward Lin Tian with a cruel and cold look in his eyes. At this moment, the sound of a sword whistling rang out. Lin Tian stood where he was, and the broken wound's sword shook violently. Instantly, dozens of Azure Thunder Sword auras slashed out together, closing in on Liang Qing. Liang Qing's expression changed, and he hurriedly blocked with his spiritual saber. Clang! Lin Tian did not stop. Dozens of sword auras pressed down on Liang Qing again. Liang Qing was instantly in a predicament. He quickly swung his spiritual saber, shattering the approaching sword auras. However, Lin Tian had launched too many sword auras. Each of them carried lightning arcs that crackled loudly, making it difficult for Liang Qing to deal with them. Poof! Finally, a lightning sword aura pierced his left shoulder, directly piercing a transparent bloody hole. Liang Qing grunted. He covered his left shoulder with his right hand, and blood flowed out. Staring at this scene, everyone was stunned. Liang Qing, that's Liang Qing, the 4th most powerful person in the Imperial compound. How could he? Everyone was shocked. Etain Qingyin stayed in Lin Tian's residence. His eyes were wide open. How powerful! Liang Qing's expression was extremely gloomy. At the same time, he was extremely shocked. He did not expect that with his cultivation base at the 7th firmament of the divine range, he would be severely injured by a new student who had just entered the Imperial compound 3 months ago. Liang Qing. At this moment, other Imperial compound disciples came forward. Most of the Imperial compound disciples were at the 6th firmament of the divine range. When they saw Liang Qing injured, their expressions changed. Jiang Renwen's dog is so weak. A voice rang out. Staring at Liang Qing, Lin Tian's expression was indifferent. What did you say? Liang Qing's face was livid. He was hit by a sword and called a dog. This made him extremely angry. Did I say something wrong? Lin Tian was expressionless. He pointed his sword at Liang Qing and the other 24 people. You, which one of you isn't Jiang Renwen's dog? If Jiang Renwen said something, You'd probably kill your own parents, right? The dozens of people's expressions were ugly, and their eyes were spitting fire. Lin Tian's expression was cold and disdainful. At this moment, he was no longer standing in the same place. Holding the broken wound sword in his right hand, he approached the 25 people step by step. Lightning flashed on the broken wound sword, and sword intent spread out. What does he want to do? Could it be? Staring at this scene, all the onlookers' expressions changed. In the next moment, Lin Tian was already 3 meters away from the dozens of people. Then he directly attacked and the sword whistled. Clang! Dozens of sword rays spread out with him as the center, slashing at the dozens of people at the same time. How dare you? The 20 people were furious. Lin Tian snorted. He spread out the yin and yang row and instantly appeared in front of a person, punching out. With a bang, the person immediately screamed and was sent flying several meters away by the punch. After falling to the ground, he could not get up again. At the same time, Lin Tian raised his right leg, and a hurricane swept out, landing heavily on the abdomen of another person. Ah! The person screamed, spitting blood from his mouth, and flew straight out. Lin Tian was expressionless. He swung the broken wound sword again and again, and his fists smashed down again and again. He stepped and flashed among the dozens of people. Every time he attacked, one person would be sent flying, or one person's body would be pierced by sword chi. Puff! 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 Blood floated in the air, and screams could be heard from time to time. Lin Tian had reached the 6th sky of the divine range. In terms of cultivation, he could be ranked in the top 5 of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. In addition, his combat talent was amazing, and his body was extremely strong. Ordinary disciples of the King's Courtyard were no match for him. Oh my God! Is this considered fighting the entire King's Courtyard? More or less, I guess so. It seems that he is not at a disadvantage. No, he has an absolute advantage. Freak! Many of the onlookers were almost petrified. At this moment, Lin Tian took the initiative to attack. The thunderous sword force was released, and the terrifying sword essence chilled everyone's heart. It actually enveloped the 20 people of the King's Courtyard. Ah! There was a scream, and another person was injured and rolled far away. Damn it! Liang Qing shouted angrily. With a shake of his long saber, he performed an upper-class divine range martial technique and slashed at Lin Tian. Lin Tianling snorted and dodged the attack. Then he slapped out. With a slap, Liang Qing did not dodge and was slapped in the face. After that, Lin Tian raised his right leg and kicked Liang Qing hard in the chest. Puff! Liang Qing spat out a mouthful of blood. Accompanied by the sound of bones breaking, it seemed that his ribs were broken. How dare you make trouble for me? Lin Tianling said. As he spoke, his hands did not stop moving. He performed all kinds of martial techniques, such as the meteorite fist, the azure thunder sword technique, the wind-shocking sword, and so on. The 20 people of the King's Courtyard could not resist and were all knocked to the ground. In just 1 hour, only 5 of the 25 people who came were still standing. Oh my God! He is a monster. 1 person against 25 people, and he can do this. How did he cultivate? He has only been in the Imperial Courtyard for a few months. This is too monstrous. Many people were shocked. At this moment, some of them could not help but tremble as they stared at Lin Tian. Xi and Qingyan stayed in the room. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The last 5 people of the King's Courtyard stared at Lin Tian. Their faces were extremely ugly, and at the same time, they were shocked. Aren't you here to make trouble? Continue. Lin Tiandao. The last 5 people stared at Lin Tian. Their eyes were full of fear, and some of them were even terrified. 1 person against 25 of them, and he could do this. If you don't want to move, I'll do it, Lin Tianling said calmly. As he spoke, his figure flashed and appeared in front of one of them in an instant. He threw a punch. You bang. Lin Tian's speed was too fast. Before that person could even react, he had already been sent flying, crashing into the residence of an outer court disciple not far away. He spat out a mouthful of blood and then weakly fell to the ground. At this time, Lin Tian turned his head and stared at the last four people. Clang! The azure thunder sword force vibrated violently. He dashed out like lightning, and the injury-breaking sword shot out rays of shocking sword light. In the blink of an eye, 3 people were injured. He kicked them one by one, and all of them were sent flying. Soon, only one of the 25 people from the king's courtyard was left standing. It was Liang Qing. However, Liang Qing was also an arrow at the end of its flight. His face was extremely ugly. At this time, Lin Tian did not make any more moves. Go back and tell Jiang Renwen that if he wants the blue spirit root, he should come to me himself. He stared at Liang Qing and said coldly. Chapter 167. In the residential area of the outer court, all the onlookers were stunned, not only because of Lin Tian's abnormal strength, but also because of Lin Tian's last words. Carrot love, 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 love slash. Asked Jiang Renwen to come and find him? That's too crazy. Many people swallowed their saliva. Jiang Renwen's name was known throughout the imperial city. Even the royal family was wary of him. Even the elders of the Northern Flame imperial court had to give him face. But now, Lin Tian said such words and asked Jiang Renwen to come and find him. How bold was that? Liang Qing's face was extremely ugly as he stared at Lin Tian. You're courting death, Liang Qing said coldly. Lin Tian glanced sideways. In a flash, he appeared in front of Liang Qing and kicked him. With a bang, Liang Qing was kicked in the abdomen and flew out for more than 5 meters. If you want the blue spirit root, ask Jiang Renwen to come and find you, Lin Tianling said indifferently. Lin Tian had never met Jiang Renwen before, but Jiang Renwen's words made him very unhappy. That was why he had returned to the academy and asked him to meet Jiang Renwen. He even asked him to bring along his blue spirit root. Did Jiang Renwen really think he was an emperor? Lin Tian would always be even more arrogant towards such arrogant people. He would never give them any face. You. Liang Qing's mouth was bleeding as he glared at Lin Tian. Lin Tianling looked at him coldly. Don't you understand human language? Or do you want to die here? Suddenly, a cold, murderous intent was emitted from his body. Until now, more than 200 martial artists had died in his hands. This kind of accumulated murderous intent was definitely not a joke. It was even scarier than those from the imperial city who had been on the battlefield for a long time. It made Liang Qing tremble violently. Glaring at Lin Tianyi with a pale face, Liang Qing gritted his teeth and turned around to leave. In an instant, Liang Qing disappeared from the residential area of the outer court. At this time, in the residential area of the outer yard, in front of Lin Tian's residence, there were many disciples of the royal yard lying on the ground. Many of them were lying on the ground, and from time to time, they would groan in pain. Lin Tian was very heavy-handed, and many of them had broken bones. What an eyesore, Lin Tian said coldly. As he spoke, his right hand shook, and the Azure Thunder Sword technique swept up a huge hurricane. Bang! 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 The 20 or so disciples of the king's yard who were lying on the ground were all sent flying by this force. Many of them screamed again. Staring at this scene, many of the onlookers gasped again. This guy is so ruthless. Some people felt their hearts palpitate. Lin Tian glanced at these people. He didn't care at all and calmly walked towards his residence. Brother-in-law, you're so cool. If I were a woman, I would definitely marry you. Xian Qingyun's face was full of admiration. Lin Tian. At this time, in the royal yard in the center of the courtyard, 2 figures were exchanging pointers on a martial arts platform. Their speed was extremely fast, and the aura they exuded was very strong. They were both at the peak of the divine range. Every time they collided, the martial arts platform would rumble and shake. Another round of intense confrontation ensued. Finally, the 2 of them stopped. Renwen, you're really scary. We're both at the peak of the divine range, but you're much stronger than me. Ha! You're already so strong at the age of 18. No wonder you're chosen by the sect. One of them laughed. This person was called Duan Wenba. He was 20 years old and the future heir of the Duan family, one of the three martial arts families in the imperial city. Jiang Renwen was wearing a purple robe and looked very handsome. He didn't respond to Duan Wenba's words at all. Young Master Jiang. At this time, a voice sounded. Below the martial arts platform, Liang Qing had already arrived. Seeing Jiang Renwen and Duan Wenba fighting, he didn't dare to disturb them. He only dared to speak when the two stopped. Jiang Renwen glanced at Liang Qing. He didn't care about Liang Qing's injuries at all. He just said lightly, "Speak." Liang Qing lowered his head and said, "We couldn't bring that Lin Tian here." He said, "What did he say?" Jiang Renwen was very calm. He said that if you want the blue spirit root, you should go find him yourself. Liang Qing lowered his head and said. After saying this, Liang Qing couldn't help but tremble. After that, the space seemed to be a bit quiet. Liang Qing raised his head and saw Jiang Renwen's mouth curl up, giving people a feeling of evil. Seeing Jiang Renwen's expression, Liang Qing suddenly felt his scalp tingle. He couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. He still remembered that a year ago, a disciple of the king's compound accidentally bumped into Jiang Renwen. Jiang Renwen also showed the same expression at that time. After that disciple of the king's compound had his limbs broken and his cultivation completely destroyed. Liang Qing, you went with more than 20 people, but you couldn't take that person down? Duan Wenba asked. Liang Qing lowered his head and said, "Young Master Duan, that person is very, very strong. We were no match for him." When saying this, Liang Qing was very careful, and there was even some fear on his face. This was not because he was afraid of Lin Tian, but because he was afraid of Jiang Renwen. He was afraid that Jiang Renwen would punish him if he didn't do his job well, because this had happened before. "Oh, so strong that all of you couldn't beat him together?" Duan Wenba was a bit surprised. Yes. Liang Qing braced himself and said. Duan Wenba touched his chin and said with a smile, "It seems that among this batch of new students, there is indeed a peerless genius. He just entered the king's compound for 3 months and already has such battle strength. No wonder he dared to kill Lung Feng's younger brother in public. He is indeed strong. However, this time he overestimated himself. He dared to disobey you." Duan Wenba was ranked second in the king's compound and the future heir of the Duan family. But he was very careful when facing Jiang Renwen. Jiang Renwen didn't have any reaction to Duan Wenba's flattery, giving people a very mature and cold sense of arrogance. "Killing a genius may be very interesting," Jiang Renwen said lightly. Then, Jiang Renwen walked down the martial arts platform. Without saying goodbye to Duan Wenba, he walked out of the king's compound. "There will be a good show to watch," Duan Wenba said with a smile and followed. Liang Qing let out a long sigh of relief and followed behind Duan Wenba carefully. In the outer courtyard residence, Lin Tian was sitting cross-legged in his room, silently circulating the Four Extremities scripture, looking very calm. "Brother-in-law, are you serious? That Jiang Renwen will really come in person?" Exan Qingyun said with a trembling voice. "Yes," Lin Tiantan said lightly. He alone challenged 27 people of the king's compound, which was a resounding slap to Jiang Renwen's face. He was very sure that Jiang Renwen would come, and he would come with the intention of killing him. Exan Qingyun was anxious. "Then why are you still so calm?" "Why can't I be calm?" Lin Tian asked back. "That is Jiang Renwen, the peak divine range Jiang Renwen, the monstrous genius Jiang Renwen chosen by the sect," Exan Qingyun said loudly. And then Exan Qingyun didn't know what to say, because no matter what he said, Lin Tian didn't seem to care at all, as if even if the sky fell down, Lin Tian wouldn't be shaken. Exan Qingyun felt like he was going crazy, grabbing his own hair with all his strength. "Don't worry, it's just Jiang Renwen. He can't make any waves," Lin Tiantan said lightly. "Just Jiang Renwen? Just Jiang Renwen?" Exan Qingyun glared at Lin Tian, saying, "Please, brother-in-law, that is the Jiang Renwen that even the imperial family is afraid of. The Jiang Renwen that even the Imperial Compound's elders couldn't do anything to. You actually used just Jiang Runwan to describe him. So what? Apart from the fact that he is chosen by the sect, what else does he have? 9-star talent? Me too. Peak divine range? That kind of cultivation can't kill me. Exine Qingyun. Listening to Lin Tian's words, he didn't know what to say. Clang! At this moment, the sword whistled. Lin Tian's residence suddenly trembled, and the door was directly slashed open. Suddenly, a gust of wind rolled in from the outside, shaking Exine Qingyun a few steps away. This is... Exine Qingyun's face turned pale immediately. Lin Tiantian smiled indifferently, stood up at this moment, and walked out of the broken room. Looking around, he saw 3 young men standing not far away. The one in the middle was dressed in purple, looking very handsome and extraordinary. He was the kind of man who could instantly attract other people's attention. With just a glance, Lin Tian knew that this young man in purple should be the so-called Jiang Renwen. Staring at Jiang Renwen, Lin Tian felt a trace of sword chi remaining. Obviously, the sword just now was made by this Jiang Renwen. Didn't your parents teach you how to knock on the door? Or didn't your parents teach you? Lin Tiantian said lightly. In the residential area of the outer compound, many onlookers collectively gasped and were almost petrified on the spot. He dared to insult that Jiang Renwen. Crazy. He's really crazy. Damn, it's the first time I've seen such a crazy person, really? I don't know what to say. Many people felt a chill down their backs. Jiang Renwen stared at Lin Tian, his eyes narrowed, looking extremely strange, and there was a trace of sinister light flashing in them. Next to Jiang Renwen, Duan Wenbao looked at Lin Tian with a look of interest. Presumptuous. Behind the two, Liang Qing couldn't help but shout. Lin Tian glanced at Liang Qing. Before the master speaks, a dog better shut up. This is the standard of a dog. You. Liang Qing glared at Lin Tian, clenching his fists. At this moment, Jiang Renwen's voice sounded. He's right, get out of here. Saying that, Jiang Renwen waved his hand behind him, and suddenly, the wind of the sword rolled up and directly sent Liang Qing flying. With a bang, Liang Qing crashed into the residence of an outer courtyard disciple in the distance and immediately coughed out a mouthful of blood. After a few breaths, he struggled to stand up and said with his head lowered, I'm sorry, young Master Jiang. Liang Qing was wrong. Lin Tian swept a glance at Liang Qing. Is it interesting to go to this extent as a human? Liang Qing glared at Lin Tian, clenching his fists tightly. Lin Tian moved his gaze away, falling on Jiang Renwen. That casual palm just now allowed him to see Jiang Renwen's strength clearly. Indeed, he was very strong, very terrifying. Jiang Renwen stood there calmly, staring at Lin Tian. My blue spirit root. Give it to me. I found the blue spirit root in the demonic beast ridge, and you say it's yours? Lin Tianin laughed. Jiang Renwen put his hands behind his back, calmly saying, if I say it's yours, then take it out. And after taking it out? Lin Tian asked. Jiang Renwen was still calm, indifferently saying, kill yourself or be killed by me. Lin Tian suddenly laughed. His laughter was impudent, full of disdain. He raised his long sword, pointing it straight at Jiang Renwen, and in an instant, the sword whistled. You try. Chapter 168. Why don't you try and see if you can kill me? Baidu percent search for which god era plus read this book hashtag latest chapters Lin Tian's casual words made everyone's expression change. Where did this guy get the guts to face Jiang Renwen? Many people's hearts palpitated. Duan Wenbao stared at Lin Tian with even more interest. Arrogant. You're courting death. A disciple of the Imperial Compound scolded. Lin Tian's expression was cold as he swung the broken wound sword in his hand to one side. Get lost. The sword whistled, accompanied by a gust of wind, and the few disciples of the Imperial Compound who spoke were blown away. This guy is so strong. Someone whispered. Jiang Renwen stared at Lin Tian with a calm expression. Haven't you heard that you have to look at the owner before beating the dog? I've heard of it, but unfortunately, you're not qualified to make me worry. So the dog around you can only be unlucky, Lin Tiantan said indifferently. What's that saying again? By the way, it's their fault for following the wrong owner. Such words made the faces of the disciples of the imperial compound turn ashen. Humiliation. This was humiliation. Jiang Renwen's face finally darkened a little as he walked toward Lin Tian. What a sharp-tongued brat. Instantly, a majestic force pressed down on Lin Tian, as if a huge mountain was approaching. Boom! Jiang Renwen took a step forward, and his momentum became stronger. Like a storm, it rushed toward Lin Tian. Around them, many disciples of the imperial compound looked at Jiang Renwen and gasped. Jiang Renwen was really terrifying. How many people below the Sea of Consciousness realm could withstand such a terrifying momentum? I'm afraid this Lin Tian is finished. Someone shook his head. Boom! Jiang Renwen took a second step, and his momentum became stronger, like an emperor descending from the ancient times. Soon, Jiang Renwen came in front of Lin Tian, raised his right hand, and slapped toward Lin Tian's cheek. Obviously, Jiang Renwen wanted to teach Lin Tian a lesson first. Lin Tian's face was expressionless. He raised his left hand and grabbed Jiang Renwen's wrist. He blocked it? How is that possible? Many of the onlookers were shocked. Jiang Renwen was an expert at the pinnacle of the divine range. His palm strike had the power of tens of thousands of jin, but now it was so easily blocked by Lin Tian. He blocked Renwen's palm. This Lin Tian, I didn't expect his body to be so strong. Interesting. Duan Wenbao mumbled to himself. Jiang Renwen's eyes flashed with a strange light. He stared at Lin Tian and said calmly, "Let go. Who do you think you are?" Lin Tiantan said coldly. Jiang Renwen's right hand shook, and suddenly, there was a terrible sword spreading out. Lin Tian's expression was calm. He let go of Jiang Renwen's hand and retreated. This sword was somewhat terrifying. Jiang Renwen's expression was calm as he took another step forward. In an instant, he was in front of Lin Tian and punched out. Lin Tian's reaction wasn't slow. He raised his right hand and met the attack. With a bang, the two fists collided. Immediately, Lin Tian felt a berserk force slam into his body, causing him to groan and retreat several steps back. The blood in his body was greatly shaken, and a mouthful of sweet blood immediately surged up his throat. However, he forcefully swallowed it down. Even so, his face became slightly pale. "Brother-in-law!" Exai and Qingyin couldn't help but shout. It was the first time he saw Lin Tian being at a disadvantage. Jiang Renwen glanced at Exai and Qingyin and didn't care at all. His gaze fell on Lin Tian again. "My blue spiritual root. Give it to me," Jiang Renwen said. Lin Tian's expression was calm. After a simple confrontation, he was more aware of Jiang Renwen's strength. It was indeed terrifying. He was far from being Jiang Renwen's opponent now. However, even so, there was a sneer on his face. With a swish, the last blue spiritual root appeared in his hand. The spiritual fragrance immediately spread out. "If you want it, come and get it yourself," he said indifferently. In the residential area of the outer yard, many people stared at the thing in Lin Tian's hand and couldn't help but reveal a strange expression. What a strong fragrance. That's the blue spiritual root? It's said that one stalk is worth millions of spirit coins. It's a rare treasure medicine. Many people had a covetous look on their faces. Jiang Renwen stared at Lin Tian and said, "There are 3 blue spiritual roots in total. Take them all out." "There are 2 more. I'll swallow them," Lin Tian said with a smile. A cold light flashed in Jiang Renwen's eyes. He took a step forward, bringing with him a power like the mountains and seas. He pressed toward Lin Tian like a thunderbolt. "How dare you swallow the things that I, Jiang Renwen, own?" The violent aura constantly spread out from Jiang Renwen's body, causing everyone's expression to change. This, so scary. Below the Sea of Consciousness realm, who can withstand it? That Lin Tian is dead. Sigh. Many people showed a look of pity. Jiang Runwen was too domineering. Although many people knew that Lin Tian wasn't wrong, they didn't dare to say a word. The black hair in front of Lin Tian's forehead was blown into a frenzy, and his cheeks even hurt a little. Brother-in-law, Exine Qingyun was horrified. Even if he knew that he couldn't help much, he still rushed out of the residence. Go back, Lin Tiantan said indifferently. Exine Qingyun's footsteps paused. It was hard to imagine why Lin Tian was still so calm. Lin Tian turned his back to Exine Qingyun and said, I said that I'll let you watch a good show today. Now, go back and wait. Exine Qingyun was stunned. Although he was suspicious, he still hesitated and went back. At this time, Jiang Renwen was already very close to Lin Tian. That violent aura became even fiercer, and it was actually mixed with a terrifying sword essence. Under such frightening power, Lin Tian looked very calm. He stared at Jiang Renwen. The broken sword in his hand and the blue spiritual root disappeared into the stone ring together. He slowly raised his right hand and said, Jiang Renwen, if you die, don't blame me. As his words fell, suddenly the earth shook and more violent waves rushed straight up. The clanging sound was endless. With Lin Tian as the center, the ground within a radius of more than 100 feet cracked, and a shocking sword essence rushed into the sky. Suddenly, the dense sword essence was suspended in the air. That terrifying sword essence made everyone in the residence of the outer yard change their expressions, and a chill ran down their spines. This sword essence. So many sword essences. This what's going on? That Lin Tian? What did he do? Many people's faces turned pale. At this time, even strong people like Duan Wenba's face changed. At this moment, a hurricane rolled up, and sword radiance filled the air. Within a radius of more than 100 feet, there was an unknown amount of sword chi, completely covering Jiang Renwen below. What did you do? Jiang Renwen said in a deep voice. With his strength, he naturally felt the terror of this sword chi. Nothing, Lin Tiantan said indifferently. As his words fell, he raised his right hand, and more than a dozen azure thunder, sword essences fell from the sky. The silver lightning sword chi stirred up the wind and clouds, and the sound of thunder echoed from time to time. It was terrifying. After returning to the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard from Demonic Beast Ridge, Jiang Renwen asked him to bring the blue spiritual root to apologize. Su Zhou, and even the two elders of the Imperial Courtyard, Han He and Lu Lan, personally came and suggested that he go see Jiang Renwen, which made him very unhappy. At that time, he had carved nearly 100 martial fusion runes and solitary lock runes, and then buried them within a radius of more than 100 feet with the residence as the center, waiting for Jiang Renwen to jump over. He was very sure that Jiang Renwen would come. Clang! The sword whistled, and it was ear-piercing. Jiang Renwen's face was gloomy. You're still too inexperienced to play tricks in front of me. As he spoke, a divine sword appeared in Jiang Renwen's hand. It was a mid-grade artifact. When he slashed out with the sword, the entire space became piercingly cold like frost. The Jiang family's Frost Soul sword technique. So powerful. A sea of consciousness realm martial art. It's said that Jiang Renwen has already mastered 70% of this sword technique. Many onlookers' hearts palpitated. The violent sword seemed to have turned into a bolt of frost lightning, as if it was going to freeze and kill everything. However, it was also at this time that more than a dozen Azure Thunder sword essences fell. With a ripping sound, the Frost Soul sword essences that Jiang Renwen swept out were torn apart. Then, more than a dozen Azure Thunder sword essences fell in front of Jiang Renwen without slowing down. With a puff, one of the Azure Thunder sword essences sank into Jiang Renwen's left shoulder, bringing out a glaring red blood. He injured Jiang Renwen? How is that possible? Everyone's expression changed. Exine Qingyun stayed in Lin Tian's residence, and when he saw this scene, his eyes almost popped out. At this moment, this guy's lips were trembling. The sky was full of silver azure thunder sword essences, intertwining with lightning, crackling and flashing, terrifying people's souls. Jiang Renwen's face was extremely ugly, and his eyes were bursting with murderous intent. I want you to live a life worse than death. Staring at Lin Tian, Jiang Renwen said coldly. Lin Tian was expressionless. I'll return this sentence to you. As soon as he finished speaking, more azure thunder, sword essences trembled and fell toward Jiang Renwen like a rain of swords. The Azure Thunder Sword technique was also a sea of consciousness realm martial art. Now, he had mastered 60% of this sword technique. Moreover, he infused the Azure Thunder Sword essences into the martial pattern through the sword mark in the center of his right hand. In this way, each of these Azure Thunder Sword essences was comparable to a real sea of consciousness realm sword ray, terrifying to the extreme. Frost Soul Sword Roar. Jiang Renwen shouted and displayed a dense frost azure thunder sword essences. However, this was useless. The dense frost azure thunder sword essences were instantly torn apart by the azure thunder sword essences. Then, 7 azure thunder sword essences pierced into Jiang Renwen's body. Suddenly, Jiang Renwen's clothes were directly dyed blood red. He couldn't help but vomit blood, and his face instantly became pale. Lin Tian stared at Jiang Renwen and said lightly, "Don't worry, I avoided the vital parts. Let's play slowly." Jiang Renwen's face was gloomy, and he clenched his fists. At this moment, Lin Tianyi waved his hand, and another dozen Azure Thunder sword essences pressed down. Puff! 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 Streaks of blood floated up. In an instant, Jiang Renwen's body was hit by more than a dozen swords. These swords all brushed past the surface of his body and wouldn't threaten his life. But even so, Jiang Renwen still staggered back a few steps, and for a moment, he was in a sorry state. "What's wrong? Aren't you Jiang Renwen? You're in such a sorry state. It's not good for your reputation." Lin Tian stood in place and said lightly. Chapter 169. Lin Tian's voice was very dull, but in Jiang Renwen's ears, it was incomparably ear-piercing. Search for the witch god era read this book hashtag. I'll kill you. Jiang Renwen said coldly. I'll wait. Lin Tian was very calm. As he spoke, he waved his right hand. Instantly, another dozen azure lightning sword rays shot out. That Jiang Renwen is actually being suppressed. A sky full of sword rays. How did he do it? At this moment, all the onlookers were stunned. Lin Tian stood where he was and didn't even move an inch. But even so, Jiang Renwen continued to suffer heavy injuries. No matter how strong the Frost Spirit Sword technique was, it was useless. It couldn't block the lightning sword light that came from the sky and was torn apart. Bang! With another sword strike, Jiang Renwen was sent flying again. At this time, the number of sword rays above Lin Tian's head was still astonishing, and the clanging sounds were endless. Jiang Renwen's face was extremely ugly. Since I was young, no one has ever hurt me like this. Now there is, Lin Tian said calmly. With a clang, he moved his finger, and 3 streaks of azure thunder sword chi pressed down on Jiang Renwen in a triangular formation. Break! Jiang Renwen roared. It had to be said that Jiang Renwen was indeed very powerful. At this moment, a terrifying sword force spread out from his body and actually shattered the 3 incoming bolts of Azure Thunder Sword Chi in the air. That's right. It's more interesting this way, Lin Tian said coldly. As his words fell, a total of 20 bolts of Azure, lightning, sword light pressed down together. You poo! Jiang Renwen had just spat out a word when he was immediately blown away by the terrifying sword wind. The Azure Thunder Sword formation that Lin Tian laid down was many times more terrifying than the previous 2 times. The dense Azure Thunder Sword formation circled above his head, causing the scalps of the onlookers to go numb and their eyes to almost pop out of their sockets. This Eknchinyan was dumbfounded. From beginning to end, Lin Tian stood in the same place without moving. He only raised his finger slightly, and immediately, sword chi came down. With a bang, Jiang Renwen was sent flying again, his entire body dripping with blood. "What's wrong? Is that all you have?" Lin Tiantan said coldly. At this time, Jiang Runwen already retreated to the edge of the Azure Thundersword formation, a pair of eyes filled with a ruthless aura. "Enough! Your sword is only effective within a certain range. Do you think I don't know that?" Jiang Runwen said coldly. After a series of battles, he had already discovered something. At this moment, he came to the edge of the sword formation and directly jumped out. However, in the next moment, his body actually collided with an invisible barrier with a bang. A powerful force came from the barrier and directly bounced him back, causing him to appear in an even more sorry state. "You think you're smart?" Lin Tiantan said calmly. Not only could the solitary lock rune link with the martial rune, it could also seal off a certain area of space for a short period of time. Jiang Runwen landed on the ground, his hair a little messy. "What the hell did you do?" "There's no need to tell you," Lin Tianling said indifferently. As he spoke, he raised his hand. This time, a dazzling ray of Azure Thunder Sword Chi fell and pierced Jiang Runwen's shoulder. Jiang Runwen's blood flowed out, and one could even see the bones inside. That Jiang Runwen, he's actually in such a miserable state. Many spectators swallowed their saliva. Liang Qing and the others were even more shocked. Jiang Runwen was known as the king of the imperial courtyard, and no one knew better than them how terrifying he was. But now, the #1 expert of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard, the #1 expert of the Imperial City's ranking board, was forced into such a state by a new disciple who had just entered the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. How shocking was this? How is this possible? How is this possible? Liang Qing was dumbfounded. Duan Wenba's face also darkened. Looking at Jiang Runwen's current state, Duan Wenba knew that if this continued, Jiang Runwen would be in an even worse state. Thinking of this, Duan Wenba took a step forward. A golden spear appeared in his hand, and he directly slashed forward. Just now, he also saw that there seemed to be a barrier trapping Jiang Runwen. This spear landed firmly on the barrier, but it didn't have much effect. On the contrary, Duan Wenba himself was pushed back several meters. How is this possible? Duan Wenba was shocked. The fact that Lin Tian was able to form a spatial barrier with such strength had already shocked him greatly. However, he had never imagined that the barrier would be so powerful that it would be difficult for him to break through it with his strength. At this time, Lin Tianling's indifferent gaze swept over. "Don't get in the way." Saying this, with a thought, several rays of azure thunder, sword chi fell from above his head. With a puff, this time, Jiang Runwen's right shoulder was penetrated, and a large piece of flesh fell to the ground. Jiang Runwen roared, his cheeks distorted. He, the dignified Jiang Runwen, was forced to such a state. An even more berserk aura spread out from Jiang Runwen's body. The strength of the peak of Divine Vein Realm was completely exposed. A tyrannical sword aura shot out from his body, causing everyone to be frightened. This kind of aura was too terrifying. Humph! A cold snort sounded. Lin Tian's eyes were cold as he casually waved his right hand. Instantly, the ground beneath Jiang Runwen's feet split open and dozens of bolts of Azure Thunder Sword Chi shot out. They cut through Jiang Runwen's skin, causing a rain of blood to spray out. Ah! Jiang Runwen couldn't help but scream. The huge aura around his body suddenly disappeared. At this time, above Lin Tian's head, there were more sword chi moving, falling toward Jiang Runwen. Duan Wenba's face changed, and he shouted, "Stop! Stop! In your dreams!" Lin Tianling sneered. As his words fell, the Azure Thunder Sword Chi fell even faster, piercing Jiang Runwen's left arm and right thigh, nailing Jiang Runwen to the ground. "Do you want to kill someone in the Imperial Courtyard?" Duan Wenba said in a low voice. Lin Tian smiled disdainfully. "You think I haven't killed anyone before?" Duan Wenba said coldly. "He is Jiang Runwen. Not the two trash you killed can compare to him." "Is that so? But in my eyes, Jiang Runwen is worse than trash," Lin Tian said calmly. As soon as these words came out, Countless people in the distance felt their hearts palpitate. Jiang Renwen was worse than trash. This ruthless person, I guess only he dares to say such words. Someone wiped the sweat off his forehead. At this time, Jiang Renwen's face was extremely ugly, and it was almost twisted together. Lin Tian, I want you dead. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes and stared at Jiang Renwen. His right hand moved again. With a clang, another sword chi fell, piercing straight into Jiang Renwen's left thigh. Jiang Renwen let out a blood-curdling scream. At this moment, the sword force that penetrated his body didn't dissipate like the previous sword rays. Instead, it maintained its form. It was precisely because of this that as long as he moved his body slightly, he would feel a heart-wrenching pain. It was extremely unbearable. I will also kill you, but, as you said at the beginning, I will first make you suffer a fate worse than death. Lin Tiantan said coldly. As he spoke, another sword chi fell, piercing Jiang Renwen's right arm. This time, Jiang Renwen was completely nailed to the ground. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of the sword chi was ear-piercing, and it kept echoing. This time, the remaining Azure Thunder sword chi all shook, and the sword chi were all aimed at Jiang Renwen, aiming at every corner of Jiang Renwen's body. I heard that you were very proud and domineering. Lin Tian's voice was very calm. Now, I will tear apart your pride little by little, trample on your domineering ways, and let you know that you are worse than trash. Whoosh! 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 As soon as he finished speaking, several rays of sword light descended at the same time. Puff, puff, puff. At the same time, it was mixed with Jiang Renwen's scream, and streams of blood sputtered in the air. At this moment, Jiang Renwen's body was pierced by 10 sword chi, and these sword chi all maintained the shape of a sword, and none of them dissipated. Continue, Lin Tiantan said indifferently. As his words fell, another 10 sword chi fell, and without exception, all of them pierced Jiang Renwen's body. Jiang Renwen screamed. His hands, legs, chest, abdomen, and almost every part of his body was pierced by the Azure Thunder Sword Chi. But he did not die because Lin Tian's every stab was very clever, completely avoiding the vital parts, and only made Jiang Renwen feel a heart-wrenching pain, which made his blood keep flowing out. Still conscious? Continue. Lin Tiandao. He waved his hand, and the remaining Azure Thunder Sword Chi fell one by one. Puff! 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 The sound of the sword chi piercing into the body mixed with Jiang Renwen's screams, and then, gradually, Jiang Renwen's screams weakened. At this time, Jiang Renwen's eyelids were turned upward, and his pupils had begun to turn white. Obviously, he had lost most of his consciousness because of the pain. Lin Tian glanced at him, boring. With a clang, this time, the last 3 Azure Thunder Sword Chi vibrated, and the sword tips were respectively aimed at Jiang Renwen's forehead, throat, and heart. Seeing this scene, everyone's face changed greatly. Stop! If you kill him, you will definitely die, Duan Winboss shouted. Lin Tian did not care at all, and with a thought, the 3 Azure Thunder Sword Chi quickly pressed down. Goodbye. The 3 sword chi were extremely powerful, and instantly arrived in front of Jiang Renwen. However, at this time, 2 terrifying auras fell from the sky, and a pure white sword chi cut down, breaking Lin Tian's spatial barrier supported by the Silence Lock rune, and at the same time, shattering Lin Tian's last 3 Azure Thunder Sword Chi. 2 figures descended from the sky, and appeared beside Jiang Renwen. Lin Tian looked ahead and stared at the 2 people who appeared beside Jiang Renwen, and his face suddenly darkened. Elder Han, Elder Lu, you came at the right time. Duan Winboss stepped forward. Han He and Lu Lan stared at Jiang Renwen, who was lying unconscious on the ground, and then looked at Lin Tian with unconcealable shock on their faces. They had never thought that Lin Tian, who was only in the 6th heavenly layer of the divine range, could hurt Jiang Renwen to this extent. If they had not arrived in time, Jiang Renwen would definitely have died. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.